Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am Jesse. My pronouns are he and him. And tonight we are playing Rebel Crown by Narrative Dynamics Games. We are running the Oak campaign. I will be your game master tonight, and I'd love my players to introduce themselves. I guess, in the order at the bottom of my screen here. So, Jex, name, pronouns, and anything else you feel like anyone might want to know.
Sure. Hi, I'm Jex Thomas. I use they, them pronouns. And I don't know, I'm on Twitter at JexJThomas.
Cool, Jason.
I'm Jason. I use he, him pronouns. I got nothing else.
And Alexi.
Hey, Alexi Sargent, he, him. You can follow all of my gaming endeavors online at Cloven Pine Games. So definitely check out Cloven Pine Games on Twitter, on itch.io, and on Substack, where I've just put out another Substack newsletter talking about running Apocalypse Keys last month with Jesse as one of my players. So that was a real fun time. I'm sure I'll eventually talk about this series on that Substack as well.
Yeah, read that newsletter. It tells a very fun story about one of my favorite things in RPGs this year. So good stuff. So we are playing tonight with some safety tools. Number one, we were playing with the X card. Anyone can say X or type X in the chat, or go like this, or indicate X in any way possible to excise content that took place without any requirement for justification. I may ask a question or two just to understand precisely what is being X-carded so that it doesn't come up again. We are also using some of Bo Sheldon's script change tools. 3 specifically. We are using Rewind, which allows us to rewind back to a point prior in the fiction if someone is unhappy or uncomfortable with how some stretch of the story went. Again, no justification required, though some specificity about what you didn't like in it, so that we can avoid it as we try to replay through that amount of time in the fiction. You can pause. Pause is just an opportunity to pause the action, say, hey, stop, take a breath. Sometimes it's just because you need a breath. Sometimes it can be helpful to have a tool to pause action in order to initiate conversation. So either of those uses is fine, or any other reason you might want to just stop the action for a moment. And then when you're ready, we can hit play again and keep going. Third script change tool is fast forward. Fast forward lets us say, hey, I know what's about to happen. I know, beloved NPC is going to die. I don't want to see it on camera. I don't want to focus on it. I don't want to talk about it much. We'll just sort of fast forward through it, and it will have happened, and we'll agree that it happened, but we won't have focused on it. Those are the script change tools we're using. We also have a list of lines and veils. We have compiled it as a living document. Players, if you want to make any modifications to that, now is a great time. Any additions? Lines are things that will not appear in our story, in our fiction, in our game at any point. Veils are things which can happen in the fiction, but which will not be sort of focused on, put on camera. We'll look away or cut away. Classic example of a veil, which my players have now heard me say many times, is if at some point there's like people kiss, and then we fade to black, and then it cuts back open to the couple in bed smoking cigarettes. Everybody knows what happened during that time. It's in the fiction, but of course the camera was not didn't focus on it. It was veiled. Any questions about safety tools? Wonderful. If you do decide to add anything to the lines and veils list, just if at some point someone could drop in a note to let me know, so I don't miss any, so I don't miss it. And with that in mind, let us now turn to our characters. And I think we're going to go. We are currently pursuing the claim of Lady Shaban Derek to the throne. Unfortunately, Lady Shaban or the player who normally plays Lady Shaban is not here today. But that's fine. I think it will be. Sometimes it's fun to have an episode that focuses on the court without the queen at its center. So that's what we're going to do today. After we just finish up with the sortie we began last time. So let's hear. I'm going to go right to left across our character keeper. Then, Jax, would you like to introduce us to Arkina and just talk a little bit about where she was sort of in the action last session?
Yeah, so I'm playing Lieutenant Arkina Bellcrown, the Vengeant. She uses she/her pronouns. She is a former outrider from the House Maze, who is an enemy of Lady Siobhan. Briefly, Arkina is kind of broad shoulders, olive skin, dark hair and eyes. Kind of always has that 1,000-yard stare kind of thing going on. Typically unsmiling, and her nose has very obviously been broken many times. My beliefs are that the claimant is my only hope for redemption. I will put myself in harm's way to protect her, and I will claim vengeance by driving out the Clarion Glen Wraiths. My drive is that I will show my enemy no quarter. And yeah, last time got pretty chaotic at the end there, and Arkina was right down there in the mix with, if I remember correctly, I think there was a riot going on, or near riot, if not total riot, and the head of the guard for the Gwenons, is that right? Who he was? Or something like that was.
You're talking about Sir Merowyn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he sort of like commands their garrison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wasn't super happy with what was going on, and yeah, things got really chaotic right at the end, and Arkina was right there in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. I missed. Did you talk about what the retinue was trying to achieve?
I did not.
So yeah, so just there were this was an attempt to vassalize Buckthorn on the border between Clarion Glen, which is the province ruled by Lady Siobhan, and Borrelwood, to get the Gwenon family that rules Buckthorn to swear fealty to Clarion Glen and to Lady Siobhan. And so big stuff. Big stuff. And so there was an attempt by doing that through inciting an uprising, which you successfully did. And it pushed Lady Gwenon almost to the very edge of agreeing to take an oath. But Siobhan has, I think, something of a she can be rude and aggressive personality-wise in a way. She's very confident in her position, and it turned out, according to the dice, not to be what Lady Gwenon needed to hear in that moment to be persuaded. So with that, Jason, why don't you introduce us to the Chancellor Vanden?
Yeah, Jax, did you mention Fan? We don't want to forget about Fan.
It didn't. Fan is apparently my girlfriend now.
Not
like exactly true, but
she would maybe like to be, so long as you don't ask too much of her or let other people know.
Yeah, so I think it sounded as though we're kind of moving from going to our goal from vassalize to seize. So I'm playing Vanden. Vanden is the Chancellor, and he uses he/him pronouns. He's always covered in dark cloaks. He's a mysterious, some say, scary figure. He last session he had 2 critical rolls that kind of laid the course of his session out. I rolled a critical on raising a levy of spies. So I had a especially competent group of what did I call them? The Wraith Touched, and they had infiltrated into what's the name of the town? Foxglove? No, that's somewhere else.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's Buckthorn.
Buckthorn. And they were sort of working to kind of help incite the riot. And in addition, we had a special guest star. Clint was here playing a character named Jean Jacques. Was his name?
Yes.
He was an outlaw, and he was interested in finding this mysterious scroll of horizons, I think it was. And we found out that it was held by Lady Gwenin inside her castle. So he and I worked together to figure out where that might be and send him off to get it. And he ran off to get it, and he was successful. And on his way back, the riot was sort of at this key moment, and this character, is it Carrick? Carrick, the something.
It is Cariad.
Cariad.
Where is his name? Or did I not put him in the NPC sheet? There were a lot of NPCs. Yeah, he's not in there. So I'll just his name is Cariad the Hunter.
Right.
I'll put him in the NPC section.
He sounds sort of like a Robin Hood analog, and he was there, and he was getting up in arms, and I pulled out a forged document that showed that Lady Gwenin and the her liege lord, that name that's hard to pronounce. So what is it? Lydigan, that they were both in league, not caring about the people, didn't care about this. I think the origin of the riot was because the Wraiths had been raiding into Borrelwood, right? So that they didn't care about the peasants. So that got the peasant. I rolled a critical there, and that pushed the peasants over the edge, and it turned into a full-blown riot. And I slipped away and met Jean Jacques in an alley, and had my minions beat him up and leave him bloody in a ditch, and took the scroll from him secretly. And that's where I am.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we are. Here's what I think we'll do if this works for everyone. I'll frame the scene, and then Alexi, you can come in, introduce Sir Kevin, and tell us what Sir Kevin does as he reemerges onto the scene, having been absent thus far.
Oh, nice.
Is that
sufficiently
dramatic for everybody? Yeah. So where we sort of left the retinue is Lady Siobhan had made a speech. They're in the central market square of this market town, Buckthorn, right? And there's been this sort of like Cariad is in the center, is in the town square, trying to sort of provoke the townsfolk to rise up against their liege lords, the Gwenins, specifically Lady Riad Gwenin, in order to because they have been under attack by the Wraiths out of Clarion Glen, right? These mysterious Wraiths with their mysterious leader, and Lady Riad has been summoned, which she's not very pleased about, out to sort of have a public conversation with Lady Siobhan about all of this. And she sees this sort of like angry crowd that is calling for House Derek, right? And specifically the Golden Derricks, right? The Derricks of Lady Siobhan, not the usurpers Derricks. And she's uneasy and concerned. And then they've been pushed into full-on riot. They are rising up. They're pushing forward. It's a lot of anger without a lot of direction. And Siobhan gave one last speech to try and convince her, and she was not convinced, which did a couple of things. Primarily, it pissed off the Gwenin family. So that Riad is just about ready to say, fuck this whole thing. I'm never going to bend the knee. But you've got one more tick in the clock. But also it means that the Lydigans are going to intervene in some way. We haven't talked about how yet. And I think that's kind of the moment. And this is I think the way we see that happen in the fiction here is that there's a troop of Lydigan soldiers hanging out in a small group, not a lot of them, hanging out in the castle, in the manor house. They've been hunting. They are led by huntsman Gunto Alfunk, who is who works for the Lydigans. And we'll put him in the NPC thing in a second. But he is, and they were a hunting party. That's what it was. It was a hunting party, and they were hunting in the wood, and they decided to stop over for the night in Buckthorn, and they're there. I think what happens is the huntsmen sort of ride in with their hounds, and this is maybe like a silly thing, and they're like, "What is happening? What is this?" As the crowd starts to sort of get riled up, and because of everything that's going on, Lady Siobhan's horse spooks, and it just takes off down the road and out. And I think at that moment, Sir Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us how you arrive here into this action?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am playing Sir Kevin Grist. He is the Devoted. He is a man of steely gaze and shiny armor, constantly pacing, an acknowledged bastard of House Granwyn, one of the claimant's vassals, though a fractious one. And he, kind of proved himself, through military service, and so he was knighted, and then he found his way into service of Lady Siobhan, kind of leading up her guard. He is secretly but hopelessly in love with Lady Siobhan. She is his trusted ruler and unrequited love. He will uphold her honor in defiance of any who disrespect her. He is unwavering in his loyalty despite the disturbing claims of the Wraith wearing the face of Lady Siobhan's mother. So I think Sir Kevin has been, Sir Kevin has been on his horse. His horse has been doing the pacing for him, right? Where like the rest of the infantry levy has been waiting, for a signal, waiting for orders to come in to this town. Sir Kevin has been on sitting up and standing in his spurs, or standing in his stirrups, right? Just because he can't wait for the chance to be of assistance to Lady Siobhan. He's been, he doesn't totally trust the other retinue members that she has, brought with her on this particular sortie, and so he is ready. I think where did you say Lady Siobhan's horse was going when it spooked?
It was booking it out of town. I know that Sir Kevin's instinct is to go to her rescue.
Yeah.
I do think because Josh is not here to play her, it doesn't make an enormous amount of sense to spend very much time on what happens to her.
Yeah.
When there are other I'm not going to put her in danger.
Just,
right?
I guess, just tell me, what does she say to Sir Kevin, as he's attempting to go to her rescue, that forces him to instead, charge into the crisis in the town?
Damn it, damn it, Kevin! I'll get control of my horse. You've got bigger problems to deal with.
Very well, my lady. Men, to me, into the town. And so, kind of like visibly frustrated with where he's been delegated, Sir Kevin will come riding in, fine dueling weapon flashing out as he's ready to intimidate, or if need be cross swords with any who are foiling Lady Siobhan's sortie in this town.
Yeah, so just to sort of give you the framework for what everyone here, the framework for so Lady Riyadh is still convincible.
Yeah.
Right. You should do what you want. I have ideas for things you can do to convince her, but you should come up with your own ideas, not use mine. But she's looking at these people who are calling for Lady Siobhan. Lady Siobhan is gone, right? And her town's sort of falling apart. And she's a little bit bolstered by the fact that her master's dog is coming in to quell the uprising. And you can tell they haven't quite started yet, but swords are being drawn. The Buckthorn Town Guard, and Buckthorn doesn't really have an army, right? It's this trade town. They have like sort of a guard. I'm sure there's a knight that serves them, but they're not like a big military place, really. They rely on the Leidigans for military support, and they give financial support, right? Part of the problem is the Leidigans haven't been providing that support that they promised them, right? And so she's watching her town be destroyed under her eyes, and she's very upset about it. And right now she's starting to blame you folks, but she's not quite there yet. I'm gonna sort of like, I can push this with some some more aggressive NPC actions, but if anyone wants to try and take charge before that, under these new circumstances, you should.
Is it cool if I charge in and kind of like block the way of the Leidigan hunters to basically like do like you have to go through me if they're getting ready to fight the rioting?
So let's talk about this space, right? So
yeah.
you are in a big open square. The riot is starting to spread into the streets a little bit more, but they have sort of run out of the main, like on say the main road that leads up to the manor house down into the square. It's an open space here. So like you can't just stand between them and the tens of people that are like yelling and charging and starting to, pull apart the statue in the center of town or whatever, right? Like you could try and stop one or two of them, but like it's the space, or you could try and do something big and bold, but your body by itself can't do that. Right. Kevin and Arkina maybe could, right? I think the two of you together possibly could. The one, this is that I would try to think about sort of like what your goals are here.
There's a leader of these hunters, Gunto Alfonk.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I just want to make him look kind of foolish and inept, right? So hopefully like breaking the spirit of his Leidigan cronies.
Sure. So I want to make sure you want the riot to progress. You want it to get worse.
I mean, I don't want the Leidigans to put down the riot.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
It's cool with me if we the retinue come up with some way to broker peace between the rioters and
absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. I just want to clarify the consequences of this, right? For the next thing that will happen, success wise, is that this will embolden the rioters. But yeah, sure. So I think Gunto is like charging in. He's like I think he specifically goes, there's this statue in the middle of the town, probably of Lady Riyadh's grandfather. right? Who was a merchant who was raised to the nobility, and put over this town, and they there's like 3 or 4 people that are like starting to try and like just like tear it down, pull it down. That's a good question from Vendon, but we can sort of address as you do this.
They're on foot, right? So yes, they're coming with me, but they're slower than I am on horseback.
Sure. And it's going down, and the statue is coming down, and the huntsman is running in Gunto and saying, "Stop! Halt! Vandalism will not be tolerated." And he raises like a short sword. He's riding in on his hunting horse, and with I think 2 or 3. This is not a huge group of people, right? There were a hunting party, and there's maybe like 8 or 9 of them all together, and 3 or 4 of them are bearing down with him towards that statue. If you want to try and make a fool of him, this is an opportunity.
Yeah, I think I am like charging in on my horse, and I like swing my weapon, but I'm not aiming to wound him, just to like take off his hat, right? Like cut it off, cut it in half right above him, and I'll make a I'll do a quip that succeeds.
Yeah, I mean I think this is risky standard. If you want to tell me what you think you're rolling here,
finesse.
Finesse,
right?
Okay,
because it's about like demonstrating my superiority, not about injuring him here.
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely it didn't say the consequence. Like if you chose skirmish and it went badly, that wouldn't have been great for you. But sorry, I'm having a problem with the keeper. Hold on, what's going on? There we go. Yeah. So I think finesse is good. Yeah. So I think with finesse it is risky standard. And are you going to push yourself? Take a devil's bargain?
I'd hear devil's bargains.
I mean, the devil's bargain here is like pretty straightforward, right? The statue comes down regardless of whether you succeed or fail. And the the rioters are emboldened by your action, whether they pull down the statue, and it emboldens them regardless of whether you succeed or fail.
Sure. No, I want to leave it possible that we salvage the statue as part of our eventually making peace. So I'm gonna I would push myself though, just to have another dice. Yeah.
Take 2 stress. You can do it for dire effect.
What's standard? So standard effect. Somewhat cows this minion of the Litigants.
I mean, what standard effect does is it cows him, and it gets the I think what it does is it will push Lady Riyadh to sort of like I will, if you want this to, I know this is not quite your goal, but like standard effect will get you will get you 2 ticks on the convince Lady Riyadh clock. You'll see the Litigants are just no help, and maybe you are like the savior here.
Yeah.
We'll have standard like it can work towards convincing her. I think like this by itself, right? You just doing that wouldn't get you the 3 ticks you need anyway. So standard effect is perfect, but it will like resign her to the inefficacy of the Litigants here.
So actually, let me check that I understood that. Standard effect would be 2 ticks, but we need 3 ticks total.
Correct.
I see. So
you could push for effect, and we could talk about like what that would look like to.
Yeah. Let me just check. when I use finesse to engage in single combat, I get +1 effect. I don't know if this counts as single combat.
This is not single combat. It's not
All
really
right.
combat, and there's like a bunch of people around. You're riding your horse. You know what I mean? In the middle of a melee.
Yeah, you make a compelling point. Does anyone want to help me? Because if I can, because I'd love to be rolling, a good amount of dice for this. But if someone's helping me, I could use pushing myself for the greater effect.
You can also trade. Position for effect.
Oh,
You
making
want.
my position more desperate.
Inexperienced but desperate.
That's cute. Yeah, totally. That's the why not? Yeah, I'll trade position for effect. I'll lean a little farther off of my horse as I do this. So I'm in potentially more danger if this goes badly.
And what about it makes it more effective? What about it is going to be the thing that ultimately convinces Lady Riyadh that I
think honestly, just doing it bigger makes it visible to more people, right? Like more of the crowd reacts to this moment. Lady Riyadh sees them reacting to this moment.
Yeah, I'm good. What are you saying to connect the moment there for them, to make them sort of realize that everyone realizes that that's really what this is about?
Well, he was drawing a sword on the citizens of Buckthorn. I say you dare to treat these citizens as prey for your hunt when you have left them to be preyed upon by the wraiths. Sheathe your sword, you unworthy cur.
Sure. And yeah, so roll it.
What did I end up with? I ended up with 3 dice, and I traded position to get the greater effect. All right, cool. That's a 5.
Okay. So on a 5, you succeed. So you get those 3 ticks. Lady Riyadh is convinced. You have a new vassal, folks.
Yeah.
But there's a desperate consequence, right?
Oops.
And desperate consequences are level 3 harm, 3 ticks on a threat clock, a major complication occurs, or reduced effect. I'm not going to give you reduced effect. You earned this. This is great. I want this, and frankly, this is last session, Sorky. So describe to me how you utterly embarrass Gunto.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's his fancy hunting hat gets cut in half, and as he opens his mouth and raises his sword to riposte in some way, I just bring my sword down, and all of the gold buttons on the front of his jacket go scattering over the cobblestones, just to make it clear that I could have run him through but did not.
Yeah, and he I think his sort of allies back off to try to help him, pull him up, and Lady Riyadh looks at this and she sighs and she watches. And I'll keep the stat. I won't damage the statue here because you didn't want that to happen, and you rolled well enough. But she says, enough. Clearly the Lydigans are fools and of no use to me. I will bend. And he turns to Arkina and Venden. Where are you in this? We're still going to get to the consequence. Don't worry.
I was sort of, if I remember correctly, I was kind of between Lady Riyadh and Siobhan. So I guess I would be kind of right up there near her. I don't know where Venden returned to after sneaking off.
I think I'm probably on a nearby rooftop with my my lieutenant Drifter, just kind of observing the scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're not even there. So I think she turns to, Arkina, who's the representative of Lady Siobhan there, right? Right by her, and she says enough, and she says it loud enough for the crowd to hear. Or at least the ones nearest to her, and it sort of spreads. I think there's maybe even a brief moment of silence as everyone sort of stops their laughter at Gunto, and says, enough. Lydigan is useless. You're all right. We will bend the knee. to your lady and reckon her our queen. Swear the oaths. Just keep our town safe. And stop this madness. And she can't stop the riot, right? And I'm gonna sort of lay this out in a little bit of a montage. And in this will be sort of folded the consequence, which any of you can choose to resist, sort of once we get there. And that is so there's sort of, we'll call it two things. Number one, your infantry, your levy sort of spreads out to sort of try and quell the riot and calm. And they're all sort of happy, right? This has turned from an angry riot to revelry, because everyone's very excited. Oh, the Derricks are coming! They're going to stop the Wraiths, right? We have the true queen now. And normally, but you know, the infantry are still acting as cops, and you know, the people are still, the city folk are still what's the word? I mean, rioting, but also sort of like, you know, expressing this great joy through destruction of property, and so I think the infantry does end up hurting some of the townsfolk. So there's a little bit of a mixed feeling there, and that's not the main consequence though. And as things sort of settle down, I think what sort of becomes clear here is that Lady Gwenin, Lady Riyadh, is not happy with what you did. And normally, when you vassalize someone, you only lose one status. You take -1 status for having sort of subordinated them. You're gonna take a second -1 status. So you're gonna be starting with them very close to wanting to like push you off again, right? So that's number one. And then I think the second thing that happens is, you know what, it was a desperate consequence. I think the second thing that happens, and you don't even realize it, Sir Kevin, right away. I think this actually happens like, but one of, as they're sort of being chased out of town, because that's the other thing, right? These Lydigan hunters, now that they're no longer the masters of you know, they're not welcome in Buckthorn anymore, and they sort of are like being chased out of town. One of them sort of comes up behind you while you're trying to sort of like, you know, talk down some revelers from you know, looting a store, and while you're not paying attention, as he's sort of like riding by, just kind of stabs you in the shoulder. He's trying to kill you. He doesn't get there, right? And so you take the level 1 harm, let's say, because that -1 stat was also big. Take the level 2 harm, pierced.
Can I protect and resist that one?
Absolutely. You want to take that scar, I see.
I do. Oh, well, I mean, I clear all my stress for free. Why wouldn't I want that? Yeah, no. So I mean, I see him going up to Sir Kevin, and I think you know, even before he, you know, goes to pull his sword, I know what's going to happen, and I think I'd like to, you know, I'm on my war horse, and I'd like to just sort of, I don't know, kind of go up to him. And would there be consequences of me just like fucking running him through? I mean,
the Lydigans are already going to hate you.
Okay,
make it worse.
Yeah, I think I just go and I don't know, do
Sure.
something nasty to him.
Sure.
Is that prowess then?
Yeah, that is 100% a prowess resist.
Right. It's a 5. So take 1 stress, right? There we
Yeah.
go. Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect.
The
Do I
one
get to
you
do
needed.
this crisis thing that it talks about? I don't know if that makes any sense given that the sortie's over.
Remind me what the I mean, normally
Yeah.
you would be removed. This is the same thing
Well-
that happened with Vendon, that he took his scar at the very end of the sortie.
So here's and I'm gonna definitely use this in my game. I think crisis and scars. When a PC marks their last stress box, they enter a moment of crisis. They must choose how to react. Take a final action with increased effect before collapsing, or pull yourself together and press on. If the character collapses, they're taken out of the action. So like standard Forge in the Dark stuff. Their final action should frame the consequences. If a character presses on, they can continue to act but cannot resist consequences or attempt any action requiring a resistance roll. Actions requiring great exertion or willpower have reduced effect.
I mean, tell me what that looks like here, given that, like the sortie is over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there really is anything here. I just think it's cool.
I think the options are cool for flavor, though. Do we see Arcina collapsing, or just see Arcina like gritting her teeth and pushing on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that, right? I mean, I think it's just sort of like,
well, we could work. Meaning, if you want to work into the fiction, like what if you know what you want the scar to be, we could like like do you because the way you describe that, you just like easily stab this guy and it's like done. But you know, depending upon what the scar is, right? We can describe like even like you get his attention, pull him away from Sir Kevin, and then kill him in a fight, right? You can sort of describe that. What happens there could be a good scar trigger and hits that crisis moment.
Yeah. I guess I don't quite have a sense of what the scar could be. The examples in the book aren't inspiring me, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, they're cool. Wraith Touch, Twice Drowned, Bloodstained.
I mean, maybe it's Bloodstained.
Yeah.
Right. What if you
can it be that as I go up and run this guy through, and this lets me use my special ability too, that there's others that are there and they come and engage me, and I engage a small gang on equal footing.
Absolutely.
And pretty much just effortlessly just kill them all.
All right. And it's like the fight's over. You didn't necessarily have to kill all those people, right?
Right. Super didn't have to.
Yep. I love it.
Cool.
Okay. And that's the thing, right? That's actually the thing that ends the riot. Right? Everybody's
like, oh fuck.
Everybody sees Arcina slaughter this party of soldiers, just like mow them down, and they're like, fuck. And like what gets around, the Derricks have a monster fighting on their side. She just slew 5 Lydigan hunters, 50 Lydigan hunters. The number keeps growing, right?
I like the idea that
Bloodstained.
Yeah, I like the idea that like as you know, Arcina is fighting and like just like you know, kind of staring off into the distance, you know, dispatching these Lydigan hunters, and like the sound like goes out, so like we don't like hear the screams of them falling anymore. We just hear like muffled in the distance, like Arcina, and then like you like spin and she's like got her sword out, and like Sir Kevin is standing there and he's like, Arcina, are you all right?
Beautiful. I'd love to hear, just as we're sort of wrapping this up, Vendon, how are you like as things are settling down and Arcina does her part to end this madness? How are you and your Wraith touched like what are you folks up to?
So first of all, do we need to try to resist that other part?
You can if you
to Kevin, or did you want?
Well, so that was what Arcina did. Arcina presented.
What was the? Oh, the other one was the.
The other one was Lady Riyadh being upset with us. So
the other one is that you lose one more status than you otherwise would.
Right.
Because of you know the like bad impression we've left on her. Like right, that's the mechanism.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe
I'm thinking we just take that. Does anybody want to resist it, or should we just take it?
I'm not going to resist that. but I'm
Okay.
happy for.
Yeah, I think fictionally it makes sense given what we've done. I think Venden. I think he leaves. I turn to Drifter and I say, disperse our agents throughout Borrelwood. We've got more work to do. Light again is going to come. They're gonna retaliate for this. I've got work to do, and I turn to that scroll that I have in my pouch, or in my sleeve, and I get on my horse and ride back to Ironburl, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. So, and we can talk about, like, if you folks want to be here, when we get into sort of free play and downtime, we can talk about where you are. If you want to stay in Buckthorn, if you want to be back in Ironburl, you have this. But here's a few things. Let's go and do the reckoning. I'm going to share my screen as we go through this, so that we can just have it all in front of us. So, there we go. So the first thing is income, and that's related to the sortie objective. So for a vassalized sortie, you, number one, take half the holding value in gold, which in the case here of the, sorry, I'm having mouse problems. You take half the, there we go, half the, which is 4, and therefore 2 is what you get. So let's go into the domain sheet, and give you 2 more gold. Here we go. Let's start with that. Then you take -1 status with the target, which there's no 0 status really. Well, and you're actually going to take -2, which puts you at -1. We'll say they do not like you very much, even though they are now your vassals. You also might potentially take -1 status with their enemies. I'm not going to say that. You do, however, take -1 with House Lightigan, who are relatively neutral towards you before.
Oh, come on. House Latigan hates the Derricks, all of us. So I don't
Right.
think
Well, that's why they're neutral towards you here. Because in the context of the they hadn't chosen a side, right? And they were willing to sort of let things be bygones. No, you're right. That's fair. They were at -1, and now you're at -2. I just don't want you to be at war quite yet. Is my
That's fair.
I don't think war with the Lightigans is something that's going to be a fun way for us to spend our last 3 or 4 sessions.
I know where I want that -3 to go.
Yeah, exactly, and you're close there. So we'll put you at -2 with the Lightigans. A lot of people don't like you. Just gonna put that out there. And yeah, so that is payoff. Then the next thing we do is renown. You earn 2 renown per sortie, then +1 if the target was higher tier, and they are not. They are the same tier. +1 if the target was a member of House Lolera, in this case House Derrick. They are also not that, but you do get 1 more renown because you now have a new vassal. So that is that gets you a total of 3 renown.
How much money do we need to raise our tier? I think you mentioned that we had to save some money for that.
4 times your new tier.
Okay, and we're at 1 now, is that right?
Yes.
We're at tier 1? Okay, so we need 8 coin to save for future upgrade. Okay.
Yeah. So you get 3 renown, but so there's that. Then the next piece is that's the wrong one. For some reason, my mouse cursor does not show up on top of do that. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, I'm having some technical problems here that I am trying to solve. Stop sharing for a second. Oh, see, now that we're interesting. All right, I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen because that seems to have solved my problem.
What's really funny is that we could see your mouse cursor.
Right, that's why
Yeah.
it's visible on the shared screen, but not on Adobe for whatever reason. Anyways, great. So, so you have more renown. Unrest. So, how much unrest did you get? 0 for a smooth and quiet, successful diplomacy or effective deception. I would say no. 2 unrest for contained conflict, relatively peaceful transition of power. I don't know. Or was it open conflict, a skirmish or ambush, the taking of a holding by force? It wasn't quite that. As messy as it was,
Between those
it was
two.
on the cusp of that.
2.5.
We'll say 2 unrest. We'll say 2 unrest for that. Which puts you there. And then Imperial Ire, which you haven't gained any of. Oh, sorry. +1 if you target a higher tier faction. You did not. +1 if you claim the holding not already belonging to House Derek. You did that.
Yeah, we did that.
That's 1 more. +1 if you're at war. +2 if any wraiths were created. So you actually take 1 more. 1 more unrest.
Oh, that's for unrest.
Correct. Yeah. Basically it's like you're now ruling someone that you didn't used to, and some of them don't like it, right? That's what that unrest represents. Okay. Now we roll entanglements. You're currently at unrest 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's 7. Currently at 7 unrest, so we're gonna roll a d6 at 7 unrest and see what happens. Well, that was a 1, which was good for you. At 7 unrest, what that means is this is weird. 6 should be the interesting. Anyways, riots break out in a holding, putting a source of solace at risk. A PC loses access to their solace until the riots are dealt with. So let's take a look here at your various solaces. Arcana. I wonder if, I don't think it's going to put, you don't have a particular solace place. But I wonder if it's just that you're the person who gets put in charge of quelling this unrest. And so you don't have the time to go seeking out romance. I want to, unless someone
Or
else has a better idea.
I was along the same lines. Maybe the lady is keeping Fan from leaving the castle, and they can't hook up.
Yeah, I don't think Arcana cares about that though, right? She would find someone else, presumably.
I'm curious how she reacted to, if she saw what Arcana did and how she reacted to it.
She thought it was totally hot.
Okay.
That's how Fan rolls.
Yeah.
I
I think if Arcana's basically she's stuck here and she's busy all the time and she can't even see, her, I think that all makes sense and would be.
Yeah. It does take the teeth out of the entanglement because of course you don't need solace anyway right now. I think just the way we're going to sort of play this in the fiction is that until the unrest level gets down a bit to say 3, you're not going to be able to take solace. So you may have to take up quelling unrest might be a thing that's going on as downtime action here to make that, to help you out with that.
Or I just keep getting scars.
Also possible.
I think you have a long-term project you were working on unrest, I think, Arcana. Or was that Kevin? I can't remember.
didn't
Unrest
either.
is different. Unrest, like there's just a downtime action to help deal with
Yeah.
unrest.
Yeah.
So actually, speaking of downtime actions, it's now 9 o'clock, 9:05. Let's take 10, go to a quarter past the hour, and then we'll come back and go into downtime.
Sounds good.
Did you give Arwina red hair on purpose, Alexi, just like Shaban?
Yeah, I figured there might be a family resemblance. Though
Yeah,
of course we don't know if they're really cousins, but I figure she should at least look the part a little bit.
right. Might be a famous Derek quality.
And there's definitely a rumor floating around that Arwina dyes her hair.
Right.
Yeah. Jesse, I don't know if your microphone is where you want it to be. You were
It
coming
is
through
very much not, as
There
it
we go.
always is after the break. So here's what I'm thinking. So, we've got a little bit less than 2 hours left in the session. I have the hooks I can throw in for stuff, but there's also just like a shit ton going on. And the things that we want to push for over the next, this is 4 sessions, I guess, right? Just to name the things that we've talked about. We want to have a big all-out battle. We want to make sure that Arwina is actively brought in to the narrative. We want to have the mazes and do something in Gilded Meadows, or at the very least, have the mazes be heavily involved. And this is my wish: big party sortie of some kind, big social sortie at a party. So those are things that over the next 5 sessions, 4 sessions, 4 after today, I think. 4 after today, I want to push for. I'm also gonna reach out to Michael about the fast forward to the end game mechanic that he's working on, so that we can maybe have that last session be that and yeah. So with all that in mind, what I was thinking is I kind of just want to open it up for downtime and free play. And if we want, I can, if play stalls out, we can drop in a, I can drop in some hooks. I can talk about some of the pressures you're under.
I would definitely like to see your hook today.
And the last,
we've been driving the car the last 4 or 5 sessions, so
I mean that's how this game works.
Sure.
That's how the game is. That's how the game is here to play. And you've also picked up on things I laid down. But the other thing I say is that I don't feel, just given the time frame, and would feel a strong reason to push forward to a new sortie this session. If we come to one, like if we reach a point where like, oh well, there's some real action here, we should roll an engagement roll and get going. But I also don't feel like if you folks have things you want to do, I would love to see the retinue without Shaban. Just like, how do you do in your downtime?
Yeah.
If you sort of come to a point where like, oh well, the 3 of you have a thing you want to do, we'll do it, right? We're not going to avoid it. But I don't know that we need to push for it. Are people cool with that?
Yeah. I was thinking, Vendon I imagine he has this sort of, impressive estate in Ireborough. And I was thinking part of my downtime is having a party, to kind of celebrate our victories. And, we could, if we want to have a party session today, we could do that.
Well, so
I don't know if we'll accomplish anything, but
you could definitely throw a party if you want. What I would say is that like the party I'm envisioning is like a real sortie, right? You have a strong goal you want to accomplish at that party. We could do that now, like we do your downtime and we can roll right into that. But I think I would, for one, would like Lady Shaban to be there when that happens.
Yeah.
But
we certainly have a lot of people mad at us. That a party might be a good idea. So yeah, having her around would probably be a good idea.
But we could do, if you want to do like a party scene, we could definitely do that. Do you have like a scene you want to frame around that, or do you have something else you'd rather do first?
Let's see where downtime goes, and then see if it makes sense. If that works.
Sure. So I'll just throw it. I mean, I guess let's go to you, Arkina. Do you have a downtime action you want to do, or a scene you want to frame?
I think we sort of get a montage of Arkina at work, basically being a cop, which isn't what she ever wants to do. Mm-hmm. And like trying to make connections with Fan, and just they're not making these connections. They're not, there's never enough time, or someone else has to go somewhere else. And
may I just say, at least one of those scenes is you reading a letter from Fan, probably like you're standing by a stream, right? You've got your horses that you're like going from like one place to the next, right? You're in transit. You're standing by a stream, your horse is drinking water, and you're sort of like, you drink from a canteen and open this letter that Fan had sent to you, that where I don't, it's definitely dirty. And she talks about, how hot that was when you slaughtered all those people. In a way, and like your sense is that she likes two things. She's turned on by the fact that you're scary, right? She's very clear about that like part of what's attractive to her is that you're dangerous. And the other thing is, the fact that you're sort of like off limits, and that you're a secret. Are two things that she's into. The second thing she doesn't say in as many words. The first one she's very direct about, right? But you sort of like she says, well, you just make sure not to tell my friend Shaban about us. Don't tell, which I think you already have, if I remember right. But and I can't. My mother could never find out, right? That kind of stuff.
Just what every girl wants, to be someone's secret. Yeah. Oops. Sorry, my chair came.
Someone's secret murder lover.
I think that Arkina probably has pretty mixed feelings about the first one, right? Like, I don't think she wants to be a monster, but maybe is a little bit resigned to it. But yeah, I do want to quell unrest, which is sort of, me at work.
And we can, if you like that framework, Venden is throwing this big party in the city, inviting all of our vassals and whatnot. If you want to use, spending money to the peasants, to try to help them calm down. If you want to use that, feel free.
Well, you quell unrest your way, and I'll quell unrest my way.
Okay.
And my way is through violence and yelling mostly. So.
I like the idea that that's in character dialogue between Venden and Arkina.
Right. Yeah. And we have plenty of unrest to quell anyway. So I guess I'd kind of like to angle towards this being more command than skirmish, I guess. You're muted, Jesse.
Yeah, sure. You have a levy of infantry you can command. If you want to do it that way, you can be barking orders to whomever. I think.
Yeah. I think I'm commanding the levy, and I'm also like totally like I am the lawing all the just regular people too, which I really hate doing, but is surprisingly effective.
Sure. Yeah. So your command is 2, right? Yeah. So go ahead and roll those 2 dice.
That's a crit.
That's a crit. So on a crit, I think you reduce. I had it open a 5, so you're down to 2 unrest.
Wow, cool. So that party is low pressure, Venden.
Yeah, I wonder, the party might be like a good place to do some, like, for Sir Kevin's solace. If he's going to seek solace, he might not. He doesn't have very much stress, right? Like, I think we could have a few different kinds of scenes framed around that. A party, like,
yeah. If there's a party going on, I have like just a person to person interaction thing I want to do with Venden, who we haven't seen like exchange that many words with Sir Kevin, I think.
Sure.
So that's a thought, but that's
yeah. If we want to like start that out, have that be, and we can cut back and forth in time, so like we don't have to do the party all at once here, right? You can one scene at the party, flash forward or back, right? I think works fine as a framing here. Arkina, just you can now indulge. You can now seek solace again, because you've reduced the unrest sufficiently. Yeah. So Vendon, talk to me about this party you've set up in your mansion.
Um, so I'm seeing streamers and I'm seeing chandeliers in a ballroom and maybe some of my Wraith Touch, all cleaned up in like butler's uniform, or not butlers, but like like servitor, whatever you call them, serving drinks.
Very high collars, high
Yeah, yeah.
starched collars to cover their.
So maybe there's like jugglers and like people blowing fire out in the courtyard for like the peasantry, and then all of the the nobility and the high status individuals are at this cocktail party, basically.
Sure, yeah. The Riyadhs are definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question for everybody: do you think that right? Lady, Iron Maze, right? Who's married to who's who's on Arwita Derek's side and is married into the Istham House, which is the other holding in Borrowwood, right? Do you think she or her husband were invited to this party? Do they show up too? Like, is it just locals? Is it just your vassals, or like some of the broader nobility from a little farther away? Did they, the ones who aren't necessarily like you're directly at war with, but
I think it's fun to invite the neutral folks. What do you think, Brendan?
Yeah, I agree. Unless Lady Shaban, and she's not here, unless she forbid it, I would have definitely and they're under observation, of course. So
yeah,
just to stir the pot and see what comes out of it.
Sure, yeah. So I think all of your vassals, right? Everyone from your place, the Gramwin brothers. This is also a great place to extend some of those long-term projects, right? You could some of those things you can, right? The Gramwin brothers, your uncles, Sir Kevin, Lady Lowry Hedron. I have a great way for this to end when we get there. Iron Maze and her husband, who doesn't work for you, right? The Blodwin, the Blodens, who are not happy with you. All those folks are there, for sure. And I think everyone's expecting Lady Shaban to be there, and she's not. Right? That's part of the reason some of these people showed up was Shaban is now like her star is rising, but she's not at the party for whatever reason. And yeah. So I don't know if Sir Kevin, you want to frame this scene like just as the party's starting, before it starts, while they're getting the preparations ready. How do you want to do this?
I think just as it's starting, right? As people are coming to filter in, I think I will approach Vendon, give him the sort of ambiguous bow as a person of no background or title who's nonetheless become influential in the realm, right? And I'll say, Vendon, I admire this gathering you have managed to throw. It's quite the chance to relax and enjoy the company of our allies and acquaintances. I have a congratulatory memento to offer you.
Oh, really?
Pull the little cover off of what I brought, and it's the hilt of your dagger that you stabbed the Wraith with when I was dueling her and you snuck up, right? And the like it's been framed, right? Like it's like the dagger is now on a like wooden panel, and there's a plaque on the panel and it says backstabber. Like present it and kind of lean in to say, if you interfere in an affair of honor again, I will not be so understanding.
You say that sounds like a threat, Sir Knight.
I know you did what you did with concern for me and for Our Lady's claim, but I take it seriously when I am engaged in single combat. I hope you will respect that in future.
Where were you when the riot broke out? It's good that you rode in, but a little late to the party, weren't you?
I was following Lady Siobhan's orders.
Your job is to protect her. Other people can command the troops. Do what you're good at. Stay out of my business.
Yeah, and I will grab a goblet from a passing servitor and sip it moodily as I take that in.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. So Arkina has framed the scene, and Sir Kevin has framed the scene. Vendon, do you? This is your party. Do you want to? Do you have a scene you want to frame here? Do you have a long-term project you want to work on? Do you have a downtime action? One thing I just want to mention here is I thought I know at some point you want to work towards acquiring the Wraith Touched as a proper asset, right? That you don't have to use. So I think the long-term project here. Is you've done this twice and once with great effect. So it's going to be a 4-tick clock, the smallest clock it can reasonably be. And I'll say every time if you in addition want to acquire them as an asset, that will count as a tick on the clock.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Let's just take care of that then. I'll raise them again for our next sortie, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I'll even start the clock with one. I really want you to have this basically, but I also it should have some weight to it also. So I think I'll even start it with 1 tick because of that crit last time.
Okay. And you roll 1 die, but then you get to add a die if you've done it several times in a row. Is that how it works?
Yeah. But the other thing is tell me how you're doing it.
I think maybe, maybe earlier when I had that brief moment where I told Drifter, disperse our spies, the Leidigans are going to try to retaliate. Just continuing on that, maybe after the little bit of confrontation with Sir Kevin, I retire to my study, and Drifter's there, and he comes out of the shadows, and I say, are our spies in place?
And I think just to push this fiction a little bit harder, right? He's going to say, "You keep on asking us to serve you, and you're one of us, but I need some stronger sign of loyalty."
Okay, so that will kind of lead in. That'll lead it. Maybe I'll take him then into the gallery. And it's like this huge room, and there's all of these massive paintings on the walls, and they're all of these paintings that Siobhan has done. And on a table in the middle, I have laid out the scroll, and I take him over to one of the paintings, and I say, "Look here," and I read some words from the scroll, and I drop a few drops of Siobhan's blood that I have in this vial onto the painting, and he looks into the painting, and it's like in Pulp Fiction, when they open the chest and there's this golden light coming out, and you're like, what the hell is that? It's the same kind of thing, but it's like all this like multicolored rainbow of colors. Mm-hmm. And his eyes are like saucers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So that sounds like a sway to me. Okay. You can tell me if you think it should be something different, but I think
that sounds good. Okay, so sway, and then do I get the extra die because I've done this several times in a row?
If you're doing acquire asset, yeah, you get the extra die.
Okay, so I got 3 dice then. Mm-hmm. Here we go. 4 is the highest. So it's a tick.
Yep, that's 1 tick on the long-term project clock. You acquire the asset. You acquire the asset with I believe on a 4. Yeah, it's they're sort of at your tier here.
Okay.
Right, which is very reasonable. right? And they're so they don't have they're for whatever reason there's fewer of them. They're distracted. They have other projects they're working on, right? So they're currently your tier.
I think that also covers. I have this skill that I get 2 ticks on a clock that involves academic research or financial dealings that I've been using for the long-term project of learn how to harness Shaban's magic. So I think that completes that.
In that case, here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't think I think we should just say that 4 roll was for the long-term project rather than acquire asset, right? And then if you then want to spend your which gets you 2 ticks, right? The 4, and then you spend your last you spend one of those points to get the 4th tick, and you've got the race as a permanent asset instead of a right, and it's still the 1 downtime thing.
Okay, so mechanically then,
fictionally it's the same. It's just mechanically it's a little neater, and that way you don't have to.
Should I not? I had just did the last 2 clicks on the learn how to harness Shaban's magic. Clock. Should I undo that? This is how I'd like to do it. I would like to do my 1 downtime action, that whole scene with Drifter, to hire them again.
Got it.
And Alexi's saying maybe that's 2 clicks because a 4 is 2 clicks, right? Not just 1.
Well, it's the acquire asset is binary, right? It's you acquire the asset.
Okay.
No ticks. But I'm letting that count as a tick towards your long-term project because you're sort of working towards it.
And then I sort of have this freebie that gives me 2 clicks each downtime that I'll use to complete my long-term clock.
Got it. So tell me what that looks like.
So I think we were talking offline before we started about like how magic works. And again, of course, everybody throw in their 2 cents on this, but I think that I've learned about this other dimension where beauty comes from, and now I'm also working towards, once I get more experience, I'm working towards getting prey. So what I would like to do is have prey be a way for me to use what I've learned from this scroll that I stole from Jean-Jacques, and the magic of Shaban's blood, to be able to open up that doorway between dimensions, to use this magic to who knows what, but I figured out the way to at least open these doors, and I hope that I will fail the rolls and that it will get out of hand and cause all kinds of trouble.
Absolutely. I think that's perfect. I think, when Shaban is back, we'll talk about what that looks like, because it's harnessing Lady Shaban's power. So how she's involved with that. But I think as a baseline, sort of like you can now do magic through prey, and then we'll see what that looks like. I think is a perfect way for that to sort of for that to be the mechanical effect for sure.
Okay.
Love it. I'm gonna jump back to you, Arkina. So do you have do you first, let me just start with, do you have a scene you want to do with this party? Are you going to this party, or are you studiously avoiding it? Fan is definitely trying to find you there in a quiet moment when no one else can see.
Yeah. I think I'm there. I think I'm going kind of back and forth between trying to avoid her and trying to find her. And I don't know, I guess eventually we probably run into each other and find a broom closet or whatever. I don't really have a scene.
Well, so what I was thinking actually is that this is less of like you connect sexually, although that can happen, right? That you don't need that mechanically. I'm more interested in the conversation. If you're interested in that,
absolutely.
To that here. So I think kind of what happens is she's doing this dance where she'll like make eye contact with you across the room and disappear around a corner into a hallway. And I think that's just sort of like the question. Like, do you take a moment to slip over there, or do you ignore her? I think either one is interesting, honestly.
I want it to eventually be that I go, but I wonder if I ignore her at first, and
Sure.
she takes that as being that maybe I just didn't see her, and so she does
Oh.
it again.
Absolutely, she does it like 4 times over the course of the first 2 hours of the party, and I think like if Shaban were here, who's like close with her, or at least has been like she would pick up on it right away. Maybe her mother even notices that there's something weird happening. Right? I'm trying to sort of portray her as like kind of like spoiled, and like not entirely self-aware. Right? She's very slick in certain things. She's a good negotiator. She's a good, she's commercially very savvy. But like in some of this, like sometimes, but she's also just a little like when she wants something, she's not always good at being self-aware, I think. And so and so like, but so you finally know that she does this like deep sigh, and she's like, I imagine it's just like around the corner, there's like a little nook with like a window, right? Maybe like a window seat, and she's this big touch, like, oh, you finally! I've been trying to get your attention for like an hour, Arkina, as she kissed you.
You don't like when a girl plays hard to get?
And she's like, oh, it was a game, and she laughs. I didn't realize I didn't know you played those kinds of games.
There are many things you don't know about me.
And she laughs, and she says, well, I'm excited to learn some more. And I think she, Vendon, are the guests staying in your manor? Like the people from out of town, are they staying overnight?
How big can my place be? I'm thinking,
I mean,
like,
it can be a mansion. Like, I'm sort of picturing like, Ironborough is this like fortress that has like a town sort of like inside the walls, like a small town. It's right. I'm sort of picturing like you have this like mansion outside of town.
Right.
If anyone's
right.
played The Witcher 3, I don't know if it was.
Oh, yep.
So
absolutely.
if you the what's it
I
called?
know exactly what you're talking about.
Outside of Novigrad, obviously this is not as big a town.
They have the party. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that mansion out there. I'm picturing it someplace like that.
Yep. Okay, so that's pretty big. Yeah, I'm getting some votes from the chat that I'm supposed to say no, but I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Everyone could be housed there, but there's lots of places. There's lots of nooks and crannies.
Yeah.
There's lots of bales of hay. Lots of good stuff.
And it's not so huge that she doesn't have to share a suite with her mother, right? And she whispers, after everyone goes to bed, meet me in the barn. And like this roll in the hay, and she knows you're staying somewhere, right? She could ask to go to your room, but she likes this, like, she likes the sneaking, and the public piece of it, and the slumming it bit of it. I think
you like keeping secrets, don't you?
Doesn't everybody?
Some more than others, I suppose.
Sure. I think she lets slip as she goes. As my mother, I am of course eternally loyal to Queen Shaban, and my mother has sworn her fealty, but she's pretty upset still. And someone should be keeping an eye on her. And she sort of like lets that slip as she walks away, and she's expecting to see you later. You can decide whether you want to meet her or not. But yes, Sir Kevin, so you're at this party.
Yeah,
you still have 2 downtime actions.
That's true. I want to use one of them. I want to use one of them to set up something for the party, kind of. You said you're cutting back and forth in time. Could work. So I wonder about working on the long-term project of Granwyn Brothers Reconciled.
You could do that at the party. Also, they're there.
Well, here's my pitch.
Sure.
Since Sir Kevin apparently has this thing now of giving people mounted items as gifts. I think he turns up, has like a servant carrying behind him like this like massive set of antlers, mounted on a like all like dressed and mounted to offer to Uncle Reese, the avid hunter of my two uncles, and like as I like present it to him, I explain that I hunted down this fine stag in the lands of our new vassal, Lady. Let's see, Rhiannon Brennan.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did I come through there?
That. I get that in. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So hunted down this wonderful prize in the new place we have vassalized in Buckthorn, and I'm presenting it to my uncle with like the obvious hint that if he plays his cards right with the claimant, we'd consider giving him this land we've just vassalized.
So this doesn't sound like reconcile. Oh, the meaning so that he no longer needs to sort of
right, because that's been Sir Kevin's like pitch to Lady Siobhan, and like we can see if she goes along with it when he presents it more explicitly, right? But his pitch was always that there was too little room for his two uncles, and they needed to like expand elsewhere to try to like give the Grenwyns breathing room from each other.
Sure. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, go ahead. You can. There's no action roll here. This is a fortune roll for sure.
Fortune roll for the clock.
Reconcile, right, for the clock, for the long-term project.
Cool.
There are no action rolls for long-term projects. So yeah.
There aren't.
Long-term. I mean, I guess if there was risk involved, it's not. I generally, long-term.
It just says in the reference the player makes an action roll to complete their project clock.
Oh, I mean, I guess it could be an action roll or a fortune roll here. This is definitely a fortune roll and not an action roll.
Okay, fair enough.
Here.
It's funny. I was trying to angle for hunt, which I only have.
I mean,
I only have one dice in it anyway, so it's the same as a fortune roll.
I mean, the fortune roll is you roll a fortune roll with your action attribute with your. You can roll a fortune roll with your who's or what's this with your action.
Okay, I know now. I can be using the the dots in an action, but it's a fortune roll because it doesn't have the whole negotiation that an action.
There's
roll
no
has.
consequence. There's no consequences, right? It's just how well do you do it.
Let's see how well I do it. That's a 5.
That's a 5. So that's 2 ticks on the clock. And he looks at you and he says, "Well, nephew, this is quite an impressive feat. And Lady Siobhan will go along with this." You can see he's lust. I mean, the way I think this works is kind of like he's like, okay, this is our home estate, but Buckthorn seems pretty good. If I could have that, I would be okay with that.
I say she is a wise ruler. She will see the prudence of making sure such hunting grounds are tended to by those who can appreciate them.
She will see the prudence, so she hasn't seen it yet, is what you're saying.
Give me time, Uncle. Not you know that not every hunt is a sprint.
And he laughs at that. And I think as he's laughing in the sort of the flashback when you did this, cut back to him laughing at the party, and whispering something to Rodri, who grimaces in response.
Okay.
But yeah, cool. So Vendon, here's your party. You have another downtime action.
Yep. So I think, not sure where this is in the timeline, but somewhere in the course of the party, maybe we see what I'm trying to aim. This is all going to be just framework for doing my what do they call it? Succoring your solace.
Yep.
So I think you see me talking to Lady Gwenin and being like, Drifter tells me that the painting that
You tell Lady Gwenin about Drifter. I'm curious.
I think so. I think lay it out and then maybe be more clear. I think he said like Drifter tells me that the painting that you've donated to the lady has arrived. Thank you very much, for your generosity, my lady. And basically, what I'm leading at here is that, in return, I put pressure on her to give up a painting of hers to, now that she's our vassal. Maybe not so nicely.
Sure. It's like exchange of gifts. Maybe Lady Shaban sent one of her paintings there, right? And I think what she says is she says yes, and then she pauses and she says, "Drifter is a peculiar name for a valet to a man of your stature, Mr. Black Cow," with a little edge on that Mister, right?
Sure. Yeah, Drifter he's a very special person.
He'd have to be.
He's a man of many talents.
And sure, and she says yes. Well, it's as the queen is now the ruler of Buckthorn. I provided I commissioned a work of that would sort of symbolize the new relationship between our houses. And it's a painting of a wasp, sort of a wasp nest hanging from a golden oak tree. Sort of to symbolize the new relationship between House Granwyn, whose sigil is the wasp, and the golden derricks.
Would it be okay if I said that what I was going to lead with or go to was that the painting had been done by one of Shaban's ancestors, and it has a very similar style to hers. So maybe it's that, but it has. I think Josh has listed on his sheet that his painting style is like abstract expressionism.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a very similar style, a wasp, but it's very abstract.
Or I wonder if maybe it was originally a gift from one of Shaban's ancestors,
right,
to them, and they're now saying, well, now I'm giving it to you as a token, whatever it is, 200 years later, maybe when House Derrick was the vassal to when the relationship had been reversed, however many hundreds of years ago.
Right.
Sure.
So yeah, that's me getting a nice new painting. So I'll make my solace roll. You just roll one die in this, right?
It's the lowest of your three.
Of what you're using?
No, it's not what you're using.
Oh, yeah.
It's the lowest of your three. I can never remember what they're called, but not your action. I think the insight, prowess, or resolve, and prowess and resolve are both one, so you'll roll one die.
Okay.
Your three resistance attributes.
Here we go. I got a 5, so that removes 5 stress, right?
Yep. Oh, you've overindulged.
Oh, makes sense.
So let's talk about what
overdosing on art. Then
yeah. Well, so we'll talk about what that looks like, but first of all, let's talk about what happens when you over. Is it called overindulgence in this game? When you have a complication, here's I'm going to put them all in the chat just so we can all see them. But there are one of 4 things can happen. You can be disruptive. So there might be an additional entanglement. You can be neglectful, right? So basically you're so involved in whatever the solace is that you're not fulfilling your duties. You get so pulled into this painting. You become withdrawn. You're out for 2 sorties. and you'll pull up another character to play, or you're dissatisfied, or this doesn't work. I mean, anymore. This is the last time your Solace works, and you'll need to find something new, and you'll have a long-term project to find a new one.
Is that part of dissatisfied, or is that
that's what dissatisfied is? That's what dissatisfied.
Yeah, that one makes sense. So maybe we see me taking it back into my gallery where I have all these paintings, and I do the same thing. I try to drop the blood on it, and I speak the ritual from the scroll, and nothing happens. And I grab I grab that. Does that dagger still have the blade on it that you gave me, Alexi? I don't remember. Did the blade
I think
the
blade probably like partially dissolved, like my blade did from the wraith, but there's probably still like a jagged edge on it if you want that.
Right. So maybe I pull it off of there, frustrated, and I just start ripping up this painting I just got from Lady Gwen, because it doesn't work. The magic doesn't work on this ancient painting. So my theories have been dashed, and I'm pissed off. Mm-hmm. So that works for me.
Yeah. So I've created that new clock for you.
Okay.
So that now, basically, you can't seek solace until you figured out what you now do to seek solace.
And when you have a scar, that's especially bad, because then you start accumulating stress.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Perfect.
Cool. Arkina, you have another downtime action, and we've been doing these individual scenes, but if you want, like we should throw some of you together here at this party.
I like the idea of running into Arkina, while we're both mingling at this party, but also perhaps starting to notice that Lady Siobhan hasn't made an appearance and wondering what that's about. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that this is you catch Arkina coming back in from outside. She seems a little flustered, and maybe a button isn't done correctly or something like that.
Arkina.
Oh, Sir Kevin. Hey, hi.
Greetings.
Hello. How are you?
Well, I was.
And then Fan goes by in the background.
I don't know anything about you and Fan though, right?
I don't think so.
So I'll if she goes by in the background and I turn and see her go and then turn back to you, I'll probably do that again and then raise an eyebrow.
Oh, she needed help with something. How are you enjoying the party, Sir Kevin?
Well, good to see my uncles seemingly not at each other's throats right at the moment.
That's good. It didn't seem like that was going to be the way things would go.
Yeah. Ooh, are you in a dress uniform for the party? Are you in slightly fancier clothes than you usually have on?
How do we not know what people are wearing?
I thought about
at a party. We have to know what people are wearing.
I thought about this earlier. As soon as the party started, my literal first thought was, if this were friends at the table, the very first thing that would have been discussed is what we're all wearing.
I'm not on my game. Yes, Arkina and Kevin, and we'll come back to you, Vendon, when you. But Arkina and Kevin, what are you wearing? I know.
You want to go first, Arkina?
Yeah. Kind of trying to picture it, but I think the last sort of function that we were at was sort of a kind of a dress uniform. I think I'm a little bit even more maybe dressed down for this. Ooh, that's a cool coat. So I am wearing what here is called a gentleman men's coat, fashion steampunk vintage tailcoat. So it's a tailcoat. And it's I think kind of a golden grain color, sort of velvety fabric. And it has my sigil, the moth perched on the sheaf of grain, kind of in a pattern down the front. And then it's sort of like ostentatious buttons. And I mean, like, I think the thing that like the main thing that this what I'm wearing conveys is that like it would look really great and really classy on someone who knows how to wear it. And and knows how to, what to tell a tailor to do, right? Arkina knows neither of those things, so she looks sort of uncomfortable and a little bit out of place in it. I'll put the picture in the chat of the thing that I found, which only costs $11.50. So if anybody,
What a steal!
Enter Kevin. What are you wearing here?
Yeah, I think like it's a dark red leather doublet. So not full armor, but like still like there's a little sense of like readiness to it. Because he feels he always needs to be ready to protect Lady Siobhan, and and then like there's like in the picture in the character keeper, we see him in his armor with this like massive like griffin patterned shoulder armor, and I think there's like a more delicate version of that incorporated into the party outfit, where it's like just like the one bit of metal is this little like essentially ceremonial kind of griffin head attached to the shoulder. And I'll like kind of like just like point out to Arkina, you've got a button you might want to rebutton. And she kind of like turns around and rebuttons. I just put in the chat. I retconned what I'm wearing a little bit. It's sort of that, but a dress, like a the tails
dress
kind of turn
tuxedo,
into a dress skirt. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So she kind of like fixes the button. It must have come loose when I was helping anyway. Where's Our Lady?
I was wondering if you knew.
No, I haven't seen her all night. I figured if anyone knew where she would be, it'd be the devoted Sir Kevin.
I'm seeking that answer right now. Do you want to assist me?
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. And if I can, I would like to roll this into my second downtime action, which I think is going to be train. And I want to train consort.
That's perfect. Absolutely
perfect for the party.
What I'll say is, I think going to find Lady Siobhan is a great way to sort of like frame some of the action in this party. You're not going to succeed or find out why she's not here, right? Josh will tell us that next week. But as like a framing for like what you're doing, I love it.
I like the idea that we're going around like trying to like subtly find out if anyone's seen her, but without like raising any like alarm bells or making people feel like making people like question like why isn't Lady Siobhan here?
Yeah,
I just saw Lady Siobhan step out from. Did you see where she went? Right, that kind of thing.
yeah, exactly.
I think the first person said that's just she's not even here. You didn't see her anywhere. Or conversely, someone's like, wait, you think she's here? I heard she wasn't here. Right? Those are like the kinds of so you're both starting rumors that she's here and surprising and having people treat you like a fool that you don't know that she isn't. Right? And I think that it sort of shifts over the course of the night so that it starts out people being like, oh, she's not here. And then someone calls you, did you hear? Lady Siobhan was just over there. Right. So go ahead and take that XP.
Oops, actually I put that on Sir Kevin. Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, no worries.
Into your sheet. All right. Cool.
I love it. And I think Lady Riyadh actually approaches the two of you and she says, I hear you've been asking around about the Queen. And she says the Queen very pointedly. Right?
Arkina looks awkwardly at Sir Kevin to take this one.
Just making sure that we're fulfilling our duty.
Well, I too would like to know where she is. This whole damn party's here in her honor, right?
She's a busy woman. She has a crown to claim, as you know.
Yes. Well, meanwhile, Buckthorn is still overcome with is still being harried by wraiths. The whole damn reason I bent the knee to her was to get you folks to do something about that. Now I've got the Latigan still breathing down my neck on the other side. And
Lady Riyadh, if I may, my first job was to help settle the people of Buckthorn.
Yes, I know you've been. I've seen you and your men have been coming in and out of town, and the town settles for a moment, and then you leave, and a wraith shows up. Actually, I think we said I'm going to retcon that because we said the reason the wraiths were coming there, or we didn't say this, but the wraiths had actually stopped, right?
Mhm.
And they were after that scroll, right?
Right.
And it's not
She
there
can
anymore.
still be complaining about wraiths even if she's
Yeah.
massively
Yeah.
exaggerating the issue.
Exactly.
Right, which seems in character for
Yeah.
her.
Totally fair.
Um,
But to be clear, right? It's reduced, but she's not willing to say so.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll say,
Lady,
well,
please trust that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I say, like, I've been hankering for a rematch with these wraiths. Tell me where they next strike, and I will be there.
By the time a letter gets here, they're not there anymore. You can come and visit and wait, and eventually one will show up. They inevitably do. Anyways, if I can't see her tonight, pass word on to her, but let her know my loyalty is only lasts so long when it isn't returned. And she turns away in a huff. And I think
lady.
Hold on 1 second. I think Fan is like a few steps away, and like she's like staring daggers at you, Arkina, sort of trying to communicate, right, that this is what I was talking about, right? My mother is not happy. Sorry, you want to say something, Sir Kevin?
I as she turns, I will say loudly enough that it's audible to other people as well. I'll say, my lady, do not cast doubt on the loyalty of Queen Siobhan. She will be faithful to you.
And as she walks away, your uncle Rodri puts his hand on your shoulder and says, "Well, I didn't know you had that kind of lie in you, Kevin."
Uncle Rodri.
And I do hope it was a lie. You have a second downtime action still, but I'm just reminding you of that, I believe.
Arkina just walks away right now.
Yeah. Because it was loud enough for someone to hear. Someone heard.
It's good. It's good. It's very good. I'm not an ambassador or a diplomat, Uncle Rodri, but
because you've been telling Reese one thing, and you just very publicly promised something else to somebody else.
I have every confidence that as our claim continues to gain supporters, there will be enough to go around to all of those who march beneath the Derek banner, the Golden Oak, that is.
And he frowns, and so there's this push Gremlins too far clock. There wasn't a failed roll there, but like you did. Are you comfortable with me taking that once?
I will resist that, actually. Can I resist a consequence that doesn't come out of a roll?
I mean, I just fictionally it makes sense that clock would tick. If you want to resist it, I will let you resist it. But like, yeah, if you're willing to spend the stress, he will buy what you just said.
Yeah, I'll try and like
I mean, you
I
just
see
made a speech to him, right? Like that can totally be a consort. That can totally be a what you just said could be is
a
enough, right?
resolve, a
That could
resolve
be a
resist.
resolve
Yeah.
resist.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I'll just the one thing I'll add to it is I like look in his eyes and I say, oh, family is important, Uncle. Even if I learned to lie to others, I wouldn't lie to you.
sure.
All right.
So
Rolling
I love that
one.
you're admitting that you were lying, basically.
Well, I didn't say that outright.
Mhm.
I think Sir Kevin has a lot of ideals and he's trying
Yeah,
to keep hold of them
absolutely.
all. Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead and roll that die.
And what it's that I'm gonna I take stress equal to 6 minus this
Minus
die
to you.
roll.
Mhm.
Okay.
What'd you roll?
I rolled a 1. So
All right, take 5 stress.
I guess on some level he must know that he was lying.
Well, I think that's what this is, right? Like you're trying to play this diplomacy game, and you've. I think he smiles at you as he says, "Of course, we never lie to family. Only." And he like gives a sort of pointed look at Lady Riyadh's back.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's a great moment for for us to take 5.
Yeah. I think I know what my next downtime action is.
We're gonna come back at quarter past. Cool. All right. That's an exciting idea. Every fucking time. That's an exciting idea.
The Killing Lady Riyadh, Marion fan.
Hmm.
There was something in in the book about in Borrelwood that I don't forget who it was. I forget who it was, but like they wanted to marry into a royal family.
Yes,
So
Gwennon was trying to marry into the Lydigan family. No, that's not true. Trying to remember who it was.
I think their boss is let's see. Oh no, Lydigan is the boss of Borrelwood, aren't they?
Yep.
Lord Ellis had hoped to marry his son into the royal family.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe we could get Shaban to marry him.
Right. Well, it's certainly a possibility. That would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I don't know that Shaban's so into the idea.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, one of the things we talked about trying to get Shaban some relatives. That could keep it a little simpler. Shaban should have some relatives, frankly.
Yeah.
So I'll mention that to Josh. I need to shoot him an email for downtime action, so I'll ask him. I'll mention that if he wants to come up with some relatives that could be used as political pawns.
Are we gonna have some relatives use as political pawns?
Maybe if you want to. But they should certainly exist for other people to try to use them as political pawns. If So, Vendon, you have another downtime action to use.
I think I used two actually. I used one to raise my levy.
Oh, and you
used one right. to succor my.
You're right. So the only person.
Call it?
Yeah, you're right. So the only person who still has a downtime action is I think Kevin, right?
Yes.
But Vendon, this is your party. You've kind of been like hanging back. I'm curious. Like, do you just not like you hosted this party for Shaban, and Shaban's not here, and you're the host, and you're not really mingling with the guests,
right?
That's fine. I think there's a lot of whispers about Shaban's strange counselor who has this beautiful house, like so nicely appointed with all of this, both beautiful and wondrous art.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people whispering about you. I don't know. Is there any of them you'd want to talk to? Of all of these? You can also just decide.
No, I think he's pointedly not mingling. In fact, I think at this moment, like where we left off with this awkward conversation, a series of awkward conversations, there's a polite little bell which signals that dinner is served, and all of the nobility comes to the high table and sits down, and I think Vendon would kind of appear in sort of a banister, overhead, and speak down with the, one of the foot people would bring him a glass of wine and bring a glass of wine to everybody, and he would raise it and say, honored guests, subjects of our queen, thank you for coming to celebrate our victories. Certainly, this is only our first steps to ending the oppression of the usurper. Everyone, please raise your glasses to Queen Shaban. And I think that would be pointed, like the camera would go around, and it's very obvious. All the foot people would be, obviously they're too pale. They're showing little bits of those silvery veins of the rape touch, and I think all the guests would see this too, and they,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everyone obviously raises a glass, with the exception of Iron Mays and her husband. Who are very polite, right? They're not like spitting or looking away, but they're not toasting.
and I would say Lord Mays and
Uh.
Lady Iron, you're not raising your glass. Why is that?
His name is Islam, just so you know.
Okay,
He's married to a Maze. And he says,
Lord Islam. Okay.
I'd rather not have this conversation publicly, but I think everyone here knows the state of the kingdom. And well, and like, but Mr. Black Cal, if you want to have it, we can have it. And he looks at you and waits. And Iron sort of smiles a tight smile.
I will, signal with my offhand, and several of my footmen will move a little closer to Lord Islam. Yes, please tell me, why do you not raise your glass to our queen? In her city, in the home of her chancellor?
He says, I will happily raise my glass and drink the health of Lady Siobhan Derek, just as I would happily drink the health of her cousin, Lady Arwina Derek. Who is the rightful queen? Well, I think that's not quite settled yet.
That woman is a pretender, and you know it. Denounce her now.
And he smiles and he says, no. And you can, look, you're in control here. This is your party. This is not a sortie. I think this would be a crazy thing to have happen during downtime, but we've set this up fictionally. I'm not going to force you to roll dice here to have him killed. But the consequences would be drastic.
Sure.
You'd be at war with his house, which will then be ruled by his heir, right?
Right.
You'd probably be at war with the Lydigans, who you are maybe trying to court, who's his liege lord, right? And of course, not that this is so hard, but this would signal being at all-out war with Arwina Derek also. So, like,
right.
war status with 3 different houses, some of whom are much higher tier than you. Like, there would be armies marching on Clarion Glen.
Right.
So that's just to sort of be clear as to the consequences of what having him murdered would do. But it's in your power to do if you want to.
Well, I'll tell you that I'll pitch this. How about, I don't want to break the mechanics, but some of the stuff we've been doing is kind of mini sortie-ish. So maybe do a die roll. I'm not gonna push it to that level, but maybe do a die. Mostly, I'm just trying to have him lose face or call, have him publicly make his choices in front of our other vassals.
So he's laying his cards on the table, right? He's like, I have not yet made my choice. He's in some ways it's a good thing. He's saying, given who his wife is, right, and that she seems to be aligned with the Mazes. The fact that he came here and said this is a step in the right direction,
right?
Openly, like that's going to get back to Arwina, and she's not going to be happy about it. It's going to get back to Lord Mays, right? Lady Iron's cousin. He's not going to be happy about it. So like, don't. What he's saying is, in the context of the politics here, a big deal.
Sure.
Right. He wouldn't have come here otherwise. So like, you did get him to. You've accomplished something already.
Right.
But I just want to stress that, like, we if you want to start rolling some dice and like pushing for things here, but if he gets killed by your people. Like, there's no die roll that's going to stop. Those are just like the natural fictional consequences of an action like that.
If I've got a thought, because I think Sir Kevin would feel like this was too much for Vendon to do. So I'm wondering if I'm wondering if like Sir Kevin like sees this starting to happen, like shoots a like extremely like what are you thinking glare at Vendon, and then like drags Arkina over to like have like. Drag Arkina over to like engage in conversation with with this couple in a way to like hopefully like diffuse
Well, so
between them and Venden so nervous.
So here's what's happening in this moment, right? Also, the other thing to think about is what time is it? We could turn. You talked about doing like a mini sortie, Venden. We could turn this into a little sortie right now, right? You could, right? This could, right? You could roll an engagement on what's happening here. Like, what do you want to accomplish with Lord Istum, and Lady Mays, right? Maybe this is the moment when you try to get them actually actively on your side.
Yeah, I was thinking originally maybe like a game status.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I think, if you want to turn this into a game status with the Istums, with House Istum, like that's definitely a thing you could do here, right? And I won't like being, we can. This feels to me like it's you get to decide your approach. This feels to me like a diplomatic, right? You're trying to have a conversation with them. The point, the social connection is obvious, right? They're at their party, right? If you want to like, if you want to say like pull them into a private room and like have a little the four of you have a little summit, trying to convince them, right? We can roll engagement right now, or even just skip engagement and say this is a sortie with that, like you're already engaged, right? You've taken an action that you're in it's your house, it's a controlled situation, right? And we could just start with that, like have a sortie goal and sortie gains without the need for an engagement roll. If you want to do that.
So my thought was that
and
maybe
I want to hear from you, but I want to hear from the rest of the retinue.
Sure. My thought is that maybe they're a lost cause. So maybe I was looking to gain status with the other houses that are here.
Okay, so I'm telling you, he has told you they are not a lost cause. You can write them off anyway. I mean, you can decide to write them off, but he has told you that they're not a lost cause. But yeah, that could be another way you could try to use them as an example to try and gain status with. Who's here that you don't have great status with? You don't have great status with the really just with the Gwenons. Everyone else here you're friends with.
Even the Granwins?
Yeah, you have two status with the Granwins.
Great. All right. So they've got their own problems that we're trying to sort out for them.
Exactly. Yeah, no, they're not disloyal to you.
Right.
There's this problem that will eventually come back to haunt you. It's a pressure point on you. But right now they like you just fine.
I like the idea of Sir Kevin turning it into trying to sway them instead, though, like swaying it's the Lightigans, right? That's who we're talking
about. No, it's not the Lightigans.
It's the Yislams. It's the Yislams,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go with that.
Yeah, I mean, so here's my question, Sir Kevin, and I mean, this could be really for all of you, but I think since you're the one to like, we could make this an engagement roll, or you can just like roll in and like this could be the first action roll of a sortie, and I'll say it like, I mean, it's a controlled situation, like the to try and sort of like you're in complete control. The only risk is that you piss them off.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Okay, this is really interesting. I did not expect this to be the direction we ended up going, but I'm cool if we want to attempt a mini diplomatic sortie here. I guess my only question is I had kind of planned on using my last downtime action to seek solace since I filled up on stress, but it feels like I don't have time to do that prior to diplomacy.
You can flash back to earlier in the party, earlier in the, it might mean you're a little drunk here, but
that works fine for me as part of the positioning if that's cool with you. So toast Kevin had like at a certain point just started just like decided to try and enjoy himself, right? Decided like
Mhm.
after that stressful conversation with his uncle, just like found some some fellow soldiers to drink with, in the in a corner of this estate. So I'd love to make that roll before we roll into this, just so I've got a little more
Yep.
stress to work with.
Go for it. Go for it.
All right, my lowest attribute rating is 1, I believe.
Hmm.
So here's a camaraderie dice.
Hmm.
That's a 3. So removing some of this stress.
That's 3 stress.
So Kevin, like talking maybe a little loud, and like walking, not stumbling, but also like very much not stumbling because he's intentionally not stumbling. Is approaching this couple to say.
Right.
You needn't.
Right now, this is all in public, right? So,
Yeah.
So like Vendon has set this up as like a very public sort.
Yeah. I'll
Just
say.
like taking the what's the word I'm looking for? Deflating the situation a little. I mean, you can do it publicly also, but you're gonna, if you want to make it a more like private conversation, you're gonna have to do something to change to shift that.
I think a private conversation is better for us. So I'll say like you needn't indulge Vendon's theatrics. Please, this conversation can happen in a quieter place, as I try to usher them away from Vendon's increasingly sinister servitors towards a side room.
Yeah. And he says very loudly, or not he, I think Iron says, right?
Oh yeah.
Right, I think she looks imperiously at Vendon and says, "Well, Mr. Black Cow, can we have a more private conversation about how our interests might be aligned?" And everyone is watching this, right? This is a big deal.
Right. And I say, go ahead, but remember that you may speak today, but tomorrow there will be a battle, and you have to decide on which side of the field you're going to be on. That day is coming soon. It's time to decide.
And that's why I brought my husband here. And she the two of them sort of follow you. Who's going? Arkina, Vendon, are you going to this meeting, or are you sitting it out? The way I've set this up mechanically is that it's going to be two opposing clocks. One's appease the Islams and one's alienate the Islams. You have to appease them to gain status with them before you alienate them.
I was thinking maybe I dragged Arkina with me as backup. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I would come with.
Mm-hmm. And Vendon, are you there?
No, I probably storm off in a huff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, interesting. Well, you have the opportunity to make yourself or your spies known, whenever you want. Yeah. So, where do you take them, Sir Kevin?
I think maybe it's one of the like galleries Vendon has here, so that we can be standing in front of like one of Siobhan's paintings, right?
Sure. Is the gallery, and this is Vendon, does this gallery have only Siobhan's paintings in it, or are there others as well?
I would like it to be the gallery with Siobhan's paintings, and there may be evidence of Vendon's weird rituals there.
Sure.
I think Vendon.
Like
Vendon's off his game. He's frustrated because based on what we had earlier with the painting and ripping it up. So he left it unlocked, and maybe you just happen to go in there. It's a nice place.
I think like the first thing I do is like grab a drop cloth and like throw it over blood-stained, ripped-up painting that Venden's left. It's like, must be a work in progress.
And there's like an incense altar and some ritual knives, right?
Making a note to check back on that later, but like I cannot deal with this weirdness.
Sure. So they sit, and I imagine there's like chairs around the gallery, and the two of them pull. You pull sort of like 4 chairs together, and looking back and forth at the two of you. And I think especially Arkina, Iron, who like is like a little says, you speak for Lady Siobhan here?
To the best that we can.
We are her retinue.
Her mouth as well as her strong arm, I see. I won't be so easily intimidated this time. Ms. Bellcrown. Lieutenant Bellcrown.
We're not here to intimidate you. This is a party.
Does the lieutenant do anything else?
Are you asking me what Arkina is doing, or is that in character from her?
That is in character from her responding to
Okay.
Sir Kevin. Sir Kevin says, "We're not here to intimidate you. This is a
Gotcha.
party."
I gotcha.
And she says, "Is there anything else the lieutenant does aside from intimidate people?"
Look at her pretty clothes. She's cleaned up nicely just for this occasion.
And she does. She looks at you, and I think she. What's the material? Is it like a velvety, like?
Yeah, it's like a velvet. Yeah.
So she reaches out to your lapel, right? And she sort of does this, and she's like, "Yes, very nice material." And she pats your shoulder very gingerly, and then she says, and then her husband, Lord Islam, says, "Well, as I said, we have a choice to make. We're not very happy with Lady Siobhan, but then we're not so happy with her cousin either. So make your case."
You don't believe Arwena's story of being a Derek, do you?
I don't give a shit about Arkina's story about being a Derek. And this is Lord Islam. Right now, what I see is that she has my wife's family in her pocket, which means a lot to me. And she has the loyalty. So she has the loyalty of the Gilded Meadows. She has agents in far more places throughout Dahl. And I hear rumors that she has the ear of the Empress. Now, these are the things I care about. I could care less about blood. What I care about is who can best protect this kingdom. And, well, Iron had a conversation with your lady, in which she convinced her that we should at least listen. So we're here and we're listening. What have you got to say? Right. And he's basically what you know what he's saying, but just to make it like crystal clear, right, is that like arguments about feudal legitimacy do not concern him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What he wants to know is like what will be the best for the kingdom and what will be the best for him. So realpolitik plus a little bit of genuine
what's in it for him,
noblesse oblige, right? A little bit of both.
Yeah. You should care who is a rightful Darek, if not for any sense of honor, then at least for a concern for stability. When Arwena's deception is laid bare, do you think the houses will stand behind her? Do you think the people will consent to be ruled? She is sitting at the top of a house of cards, and it will come crumbling down. I already feel it shaking Why do you think the Wraiths are emboldened to strike all through the realm? The only place they've been driven back and peace has been secured has been right here in Foxglove Steading. It is the leadership of Queen Siobhan that will bring true stability and security. And yes, legitimacy, because a realm will not be secure or stable long if its foundation is illegitimate.
So it sounds to me like you're trying to sway them. Am I hearing that right? Is there something else going on there?
It might be command, like, because I'm invoking, Siobhan's authority to try and like
right, but
command their loyalty.
He's already told you he doesn't care about it. You could try to command them,
Yeah.
right? But that you're starting at 0 effect.
Okay.
Controlled 0 effect if you're trying to command them based on Siobhan's feudal authority. It's been very clear they don't care about it.
Get more from command is the thing. I actually have it in sway.
Sorry?
I get more dice from commanding. I don't actually have any dots in sway.
So that's the trade-off, right? You can try and use the dots and push your effect forward in command, or you can take the thing that you don't have any dots in and try and get dice with the better effect.
Arcana, what do you think?
I definitely want to help, so that'll give you one die to start with at least. What I kind of picture is, when you're talking about the Wraiths being driven out. I don't know. Maybe it's not something quite as obvious or is this, but like Arcana like cracks her knuckles or something, and just kind of like to drive home that point that we are the only ones who have had this kind of success against the Wraiths.
Absolutely. Yeah, so take that stress and you can, so which are you doing here? Are you going to try to take that for effect and have that push you to limited, or are you going to take that as a die in sway and you'll have one die to roll controlled standard?
So it sounds like command gets to controlled standard here, and to sway would.
So command starts at controlled limited.
Yeah.
Sorry, controlled 0.
Controlled 0.
So even just more effect there will get you to limited.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can then trade position for. I mean, there are things you can do to push that even further, right? Whereas sway starts at controlled standard, but you have 0 dice.
Yeah.
But it's easy to get 2. You've already got 1 from help. You can get another from pushing yourself for a devil's bargain. Like.
What was standard, right? So command gets to limited with
the help.
With the help. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is the math points me towards sway, even if that's not the character's strong suit. What would a devil's bargain be?
Oh, what's the devil's bargain here?
In a room full of devil's implements, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a tick on Lady Sarah Derek's plan clock goes up.
Oh no, a tick on the Wraiths clock as I talk about how we push back the Wraiths.
And you're surrounded by these Wraith touch
magically potent things.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I think I'll take that devil's bargain,
Sure.
Though I may regret it later.
So where are we at?
That
would get you with command. That would get you if you used it for effect, and you use the help for effect. You're in the same place. 2 dice, controlled standard.
I'm not sure it does because I have one tick in. I have 1 dot in command.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, it's 1 die. You can either be at limited with 2 dice or
standard with 1 die.
Standard with 1 die.
Yeah. And that sway I would have 2 dice by now because both I could put both things towards dice and not worry about
the math is there. And frankly, I think I do think it's like, even with the same thing you said, right? As a persuasive argument, it works better for them than as a. That's why the effect difference.
Yeah. Arcana, do you have a vote about putting it all on 1 dice for command, or doing the probably smarter thing and trying for sway?
I think sway is the smarter thing.
Sway is the way to go. All right.
I mean,
so,
Arcana also is naturally inclined towards command, but I think she can read the room.
Right? I mean, like the other pieces, like they think they very much view themselves as both of your social superiors, right?
Right.
Like the fact that they're in this room with you and not Lady Shaban is already insulting to them. Right.
Feudalism. Yeah. So, like, honestly, I might even say, like, there's a point in Sir Kevin's speech where he, like, catches Arcana's side eye and, like, tones it back from command into sway. Right. Like, yeah. All right. I'll roll 2 for sway here. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's see how this goes. 2 6s.
Hey, you just finished the sortie. I mean, it was a small sortie, right? We did it that way on purpose.
Yeah.
But and they stop and they listen. And again, like, this is not to get them all the way on your side, right? You're going to advance your status with them.
Yeah.
But they, I think Lady, I think Iron says, yes, the wraiths there. If Lady Shaban can really control the wraiths, then we would can really defeat wraiths in a serious way. We would well, that would be enough to get our full support. But that's what we need to see. And
rest assured, we are hard at work curtailing the wraiths.
Mm-hmm. So, and they smile and say, so we're settled then? And yeah, so just very quickly, the reckoning.
A quick reckoning.
A quick reckoning. So yeah, income. They are higher status than you, so you get 3 gold.
Just from improved trade relations, I guess.
Yeah, that's basically how it works, right? There's more commerce going back and forth. What's the domain sheet? That's 3 more gold. A little silly how easy that was, but I'm fine with that. I hope you all are.
Got that crit?
Yeah.
Double
renown.
6s. Good thing I rolled sway.
Renown. You get 2 renown plus 1 for higher tier. And no new vassals yet. So that's 3, which gets you up to all the renown you need to up your tier.
We just need 8 coin for it, right?
Yeah, which you have. No, you don't quite yet.
No,
Yeah.
Wait, is there a can you take it down to max just to get coin? Is that, or you only get coin from doing
sorties? You can
sorties?
definitely do that in regular blades. It's not clear to me whether you can do it in this game. We'll come back to that though. Let's when we get to all right. So that's your renown, that's your no new vassals, unrest, 0 unrest, right? That was a quiet diplomatic mission.
Not if Venden had his way.
Yeah, but that's how it turned out.
Hey, it all worked out.
And your unrest is at 2. Let's roll entanglements. That was a 5. Oh, that's perfect. This is perfect for what I want, for how I wanted to end this session.
Oh, great.
And I think we're not quite at the end of the session, but I think while this meeting is going on, Venden, you've run away to your study, right?
Yeah.
And are any of Lady Shaban's paintings hanging in your study?
Oh, of course.
So I think one of the smaller ones, you start to see, if you're looking at it, and you start to see a form. And it's interesting because like it's like a vague shape in the distance, but it gets closer and closer and closer until a face fills the frame. It's about human face size, fills the frame, and it's a face you recognize. It's the librarian from Foxglove Steading,
Oh, all
right?
right.
Who you may remember has and says Vendon. What was her name? I don't remember her name. It does.
I think it's Jamie.
Jamie, that's right, Jamie. Vendon. May I have a word? As if this is like not at all strange, right? She says, "I am here to represent Lady Derek,
The Queen.
the true Lady Derek, not her heir, who claims the title Queen."
Of course.
And she says, "You have recently acquired something that she wants, and she's willing to parlay with you about it."
I would welcome the chance to speak to the Queen.
She doesn't yet. She doesn't yet. What's the word I'm looking for? There's a word for like claiming something that you're like she doesn't yet aspire to the title Queen, let's say. She doesn't yet aspire to the title Queen. She is the Lady of Clarion Glen, and that's the title she wants acknowledged. But in the meantime, and so like just this is information that you maybe didn't have before that now you have, right? That like what she wants is to rule Clarion Glen, her rightful fief, right?
And I want the ability to release the beauty that you live in now. Show me the way, and maybe we can make a trade.
I think you perhaps misunderstand what beauty is, but for now, but you're saying if I let you see what's in here, you'll give me the scroll to return to my lady.
Let us speak. Let me speak to her, but there's a good chance of that, yes. I've already memorized all the rituals, so the scroll is not necessary any longer.
Well, she's not going to come here to your place of power. And she gives you a place and time to meet, midnight in some place in the middle of nowhere, right on the new moon when it's dark.
In a graveyard.
Yeah. Well, it's not in a graveyard. It's actually a ruined tower.
Of course. Second best.
Yeah. She doesn't aspire to death, right? She aspires to rule. And so yeah. So let's leave that for the moment. I think we'll maybe end the session with that scene with you and the Queen. In the meantime, everyone has new downtime actions. If you want, I think that we should try to handle them like relatively quickly. If folks like it wasn't a big, people don't have stress. Vendon, you're going to take one stress because you
right
can't.
I have to. Yep.
But I'm curious. Arkina, let's start with you. Do you have some downtime action you want to take here?
Yeah, just a second. I think the first thing that comes to mind that's most immediately relevant is my long-term project.
Sure.
I don't. I guess I don't know if there's something that like specifically. Oh, that's a good question. Do I take a stress from not taking Solace last downtime due to my scar?
You don't take it the first time. when
Okay.
That's the way I generally play that. Like when you because you've just taken the scar and you've gone down to 0 because of it. So it doesn't make sense that you would then
Right.
have to use it, have to do it that first time. But now you're going to have to, which is you're going to take stress because you can.
Mm-hmm.
Arcana, there's all that like magic stuff in the room we had the sortie
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you
that's
want to
what I was
like
gonna- that's what I was
prowl
gonna say.
through
You are
that?
you are in Venden's house. Like,
Yeah, and I think even though I don't know what just happened on screen, I am not very pleased with what Venden did and kind of the power he tried to wield in in our queen's absence. So yeah, I'm looking around the room. I'm looking at the paintings. I'm looking under the one that Kevin covered up. I think I don't. I mean, maybe even like kind of trying to sneak around the house a little bit, kind of trying to see what
yeah,
I can find. And I think that
sure.
it probably is sort of taking a more of a sneak approach.
Well, so here's
I
my
don't know, yeah.
question, and I don't know that it matters if you're like sneaking around Venden's house and going to places where Venden doesn't want you to. That's probably an action roll. What I'll say is like I'm not going to impose like the consequences will be like Venden finds out, and then it would be sort of like risky standard. Venden finds out, and then Venden can decide what he wants to do about it. But like that's the stakes there. But if you just want to sort of explore this room that you're in now, right? It's that's a fortune roll. If that makes sense, I think that's the there might be more to gain potentially, I guess, if you're like poking around places, but you're in a place where there's a lot of information already. So
yeah, I think it's all pretty much there.
Well, I mean, I think the main thing is that I don't have anything in study, and I do have something in prowl. But
so maybe you come back later that night.
Yeah, no, you can
everyone's asleep.
If you want to do prowl and take the risk, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, since it seems like we're already kind of diving headlong into this PvP sort of thing, I'm okay with. I mean, that sort of inter-party drama is interesting to me. So
sure. Obviously, I like risky standard, but the risk is really just that like Venden finds out, and Venden can impose whatever fictional consequences he chooses to that are sort of reasonable.
And is there? Can you push yourself? Can I push myself on this?
Yeah, it's
too?
an action roll. You can do whatever
Okay.
you want.
Right.
Once it's no longer a fortune roll.
All right.
Push yourself for an extra die.
Yeah. It's a 6.
It's a 6, yeah. So you get it. That's two 6s at standard effect. That's 2 ticks on your clock.
So I only have 1 left. I ticked it off.
Yeah. Tell me, or maybe Venden. Tell her.
Yeah, Venden. Tell me what I learned.
What she finds. How to thwart you.
So I think I don't even know what the answer is, but maybe there's a clue in the fact that painting done by the ancestor of Shaban didn't have any magical, capability. Maybe that tells you something. Let's see what else.
I suspect that Arcana, tell me if I'm right, probably couldn't figure that out.
Yeah.
I think she needs to find more of a smoking gun.
Sure. Well, I think I think there was the devil's bargain that like there was evidence of magic that the NPC spotted. So I'm sure you spotted it too. Maybe I mentioned there was that glowing sort of color coming from the painting. So maybe you see that,
Yeah, I
something
mean,
more.
I think though that like magic paintings at this point is something that like isn't. I already have seen those.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe you find the vial of blood and
Yeah,
realize and deduce that it's Shaban's.
yeah, I think
Okay.
that's it.
You know,
I think
Okay.
that's it.
you still don't know
Sure.
how to do anything about it. You haven't finished the clock, but this is
Mhm.
like a big piece. Plus, it's a weapon you can use against Venden, right?
Yeah,
Venden is-
and I take the vial and slip it into my.
Well,
You know.
the only problem I have with that is that was going to be the MacGuffin I was using
Okay.
to give me armor against supernatural stuff, and
Okay.
also to kind of.
you can have
Maybe I have
confidence
another
that
one.
it's
Sure,
You
all
have
right,
right.
right?
several
I found a bunch
vials of
of
blood.
Yeah,
I mean,
I open up a cabinet. There's a whole like 100 of
you
them.
don't have.
Oh
I
my
can't
God!
imagine
What
you
if
have that
that's
much.
what I found?
I forget how you got it? Did Lady Shaban give it to you, or did you?
She was
sneak it?
injured in our very first sortie,
Right, so
and
you took
I
it.
helped her, and in the process of helping her, I took her blood.
Right. I imagine you maybe have like a vial and then like a bandage with some blood on it, right, or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And that's you still have the bandage, which is not as useful for all of the stuff, but you can at least have it on you to do something with. And that
Okay.
works.
Yeah.
So I think the other thing that means is that like you can't do your big rituals right now. You need another way to get more blood to do some of those bigger, or another avenue, right? Another tool that's not Shaban's blood, which we could figure
Okay.
out. Awesome. I love it, Arcana. Sir Kevin, downtime action.
I'm working on my Wraith
All right.
Restraining Whip because
Sure.
we've just been talking about how bringing the Wraiths under control is one of the ways to kind of bring the Islams fully on our side. So it's more important than ever to be able to deal with them.
Sure, yeah. How do you do it? Do you just like, is it craft? Is it
I wonder if this one might be finesse as I am putting the finishing touches on it.
right? Well, we'll see how the roll goes, right? Even if you get a 1 to 3, it's you don't quite get the finishing touches done, but sure, go for it.
Yeah, so rolling 2 to see how I do here. Oof, 3 is my highest.
So yeah, you get 1 tick. So like you're putting on those final touches, like the honing the edge, making sure the joints of each piece are properly oiled, and et cetera, et cetera. And like, what's the one little bit that you just don't quite get? Like, it turns out that you can't quite get done.
It doesn't do the thing where it like whips out from sword shape in whip shape. No, it has to do the thing. It's got to be something to tighten or loosen.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, the next time you do this, you always get 1 tick. So you'll complete it whenever you take the second.
Nice.
Do this one more time.
Yeah.
Venden, downtime action.
I'm gonna work on my making the Wraith Touch permanent, that long-term project.
Yeah, sure.
What did I roll on that? I don't remember. Was that sway?
You can roll whatever you want. Tell me how you do it.
I think just similar to before. I think I share with Drifter, and through him, the other Wraith Touched, the new things I've learned about the mysteries of the other side.
Yeah, so that's I think that's a yeah. So roll sway.
Okay, and then do I get the extra die because I've done it so many times in a row?
So this is a different thing. I mean,
that's a different thing. Okay.
Yeah. Like you've gotten a bunch of ticks on this clock because of that. You don't for that asset. I don't think you.
All right, here we go. I got a 6.
There you go. The Wraith Touch are a permanent asset for the retinue.
Nice.
You no longer have to acquire them.
Great. We
Good
have
news,
these
guys.
creepy guys that Venden uses to kill people. I'm sure that will always be
Hey, they
fine.
haven't killed anybody. Well, they beat up one guy, but that's it.
Didn't they kill that guy in like the second session and create a wraith? And that
was
wraith touched
me.
you? Oh, you
They
killed
didn't do
him.
it. I did.
Okay.
Awesome. Arcana, do you have another downtime action you want to take?
I probably should have been thinking about that, huh? probably just, you know what? I kind of was thinking about maybe just trying to finish off that long-term project, but no,
I
sorry.
can tell
Can you come?
a really fun way for you to finish off that long-term project is to tail Venden to his meeting.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
You'll have to roll prowl not to get caught, but
Yeah.
we can maybe save that for the moment. Are you cool with that, Venden?
This is spotting me talk to the spirit in the
Well, this is
in
going
the
to be
painting?
like I think just like snooping around you in general, so that she ends up following you when you go to meet with Sarah Derrick.
Oh, okay, sure. Leading into next time. Okay.
Yeah. Or
Sure.
I mean, or we'll see whether it leads into the next time or not. But like building this other plot.
Sure.
Yeah. And you know, it doesn't matter what you roll because you only have one more tick, so you're gonna succeed at the long-term project for doing this. But I think it will just be cool, like a cool way to flavor it, and then you'll roll to see like what happens in the moment you get caught, by whom, how.
Mhm.
All right, Sir Kevin, do you have a second downtime action you want to take?
Yeah, I think I want to quell unrest. I think I want to to ride out with some of some of the guard of Ironburl and hunt for wraiths because we are trying to kind of beat back their incursions and gain a reputation as the stabilizing force that can secure the realm against them.
So you can do that. There's not a ton of unrest, right? There's only 2 unrest. That same action might be a useful thing to do in a long-term project to we never upped your status with the I meant to up your status with House Yislam.
Oh yeah, we got to do that
to -1.
From -2 to -1.
It's good, right? But like raising your status with the House Yislam, like this could be a thing that did that, right? I mean, you could create a long-term project for that.
What is the? Let me just
be the same action. You know, you'd
check
be doing
on
the same
what
thing.
quelling unrest looks like. I mean, like I could.
If you want to quell unless you can. I just wanted to sort of point out that the exact given that that's something they want you to do, right? You could do the exact same thing and have a slightly different effect if you want.
Secure. Got it. Yeah. By securing, their borders against wraiths, increase our standing with House Islam.
Yeah, and that would be a long-term project. That's probably like a six-step clock.
I don't know. What do people think? Do people want me to quell the remaining unrest, or try and start a project to increase our standing with Islam even more?
I think the project makes more sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's start that project.
All right, and you can. I mean, it sounds like you're rolling either skirmish or command or ride. I don't think any of those would whatever you.
I was going for hunt.
Hunt, that's fine. Hunt actually makes more sense than any of the things I said.
Hunt the raids. Let's see how this goes. That's a 6.
There you go. So that's 3 ticks.
Nice on the new long-term project.
Status with Islam.
Impress the Islam's clock. Yeah. Cool.
So you're halfway there.
Yeah. So I think like might even be cutting back and forth between like Venden on his way to like meeting this like wraith ruler and like Sir Kevin out like slashing at wraiths with his silver sword and wishing he had his cool whip sword, but like making the best of what he's got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you go to this tower that Jamie told you to go to, Venden, and it's like shockingly close to Ironburl. In fact, it's like right outside Ironburl's walls. It seems like it might at one point have been part of Ironburl, not even that long ago. You maybe even make a note to ask Lady Shaban what it is, or to ask Lady Sarah what it is. But you, it's sort of like this ruined out building outside of Ironburl. And you climb the stairs to the top where and I think there's like a moment or two where like the flagstone is loose and you stumble, but it's not really. You get to the top and you see someone who a wraith, and as we've described them, she's wearing fine silver, not silver. Silver is bad on wraiths. Well, it's like tarnished silver armor is what I'll say. Or it looks like it. The material may not be actually silver, but it's this black tarnished looking silver, right? I'm this is the old D&D had, the old TSR novels. I'm like picturing kind of like a Lord Soth kind of armor. If anyone's read the Dragonlance books, this sort of scale black, black tarnished scale mail, with the only with the almost glowing gold oak leaf of Derek in the center, and a face that is pale white, long silver hair, a thin tiara of gold, and a gigantic sword, two-handed sword on her back, and her face looks remarkably like Siobhan's. And if you've seen paintings of her mother, that's who it looks like. And she says, "I see you've come. Did you bring the scroll?"
I did. I'll reach into my cuff and pull it out.
Mm-hmm. And my librarian tells me that you want to see into where we live, where we stay, our prison. He calls it their prison.
Right.
That you think it's beautiful.
I've seen inside already somewhat, but I want to see it completely. I want to be able to see it, without restriction.
So it's a certain kind of beauty, but those who haven't, even those who we've touched, those who we've touched can come through and survive, but it's not healthy. Is that still what you want from me?
I do, but I need to ask for one more thing. I seem to have misplaced my vial of Siobhan's blood. I would ask if I could only take a few drops of yours.
We don't bleed, Black Cow, you know that. I will not give you of the power. I will not give you of my body. I can't. What? But you're looking for a source of power. Yes, that's what you want.
Of course.
And you notice behind her, there's a velvet, like a black velvet, drop cloth, over a frame, and she pulls it back, and you see it's not one of Siobhan's. It doesn't have like her abstraction. It's a very different style. More. I wouldn't call it like figural. It doesn't look. It's not like a landscape or a still life or it's not a figural. It doesn't look like like reality. But it's more. If she's doing kind of like Rothko and Pollock kind of stuff, like this is more like Matisse, I guess, right? So like it's not Impressionism, but it's like that kind of like, I don't know enough about art, but if you've seen Matisse's style, right, it's clearly of real things. It's not abstract, but much less, but not clearly defined.
Sure.
right? The borders between things are fuzzier, and there's like bright colors,
Mhm.
you know, very warm, which in this dark place next to the sort of muted silver, black, and gold of Lady Sarah Derrick is very, you know, startling. And she says, but it has some of that same kind of like uncanniness that Shaban's art has, right?
Mhm.
And she says, and she reaches her hand in, and it's and comes out with a vial of golden liquid. I think it smells kind of like oil paint. It's not, right, but it has that kind of smell and that a little bit of that texture. And she says, you know, this is the substance of the place you want to visit, and though it doesn't work exactly like my daughter's blood, it should serve to fuel your magics for a little while.
Perfect. Thank you, my queen.
I don't claim the title queen. Call me lady. But do you recognize me as Lady of Clarion Glen?
I
Are you
do.
not? Will you kneel before me and take that oath
I will.
and swear fealty to me, Lady Sarah Derrick, Lady of Clarion Glen?
Of course.
And you know, she waits.
So yeah, I'll kneel down.
Mm-hmm. And do you swear your loyalty? Do you say anything?
Well, let me ask you this: do I have within my means some way to blackmail or to like double cross her at this point, like
I mean,
to
she
magically shut it down somehow?
there's no, I'll tell you, right, there's nothing that's going to magically bind you to keep this oath, right? It's an
Right.
oath, you know. This is, I think, she clearly takes oaths and honor seriously. We've seen that already.
Sure.
I think she probably doesn't know that you're the one who stabbed her to ruin that duel, or she wouldn't be trusting your oath. But so like you can totally back out of this. Like this can be just lip service, but she wasn't expecting you to, right? She's surprised.
Sure. I think, yeah, I will. I'll bow down and I'll swear my fealty to her.
Well. This is a pleasant surprise. Tell me, Vendon Black Cal, you want to see into the world of the wraiths?
I do.
And she, I'm going to tell you, I said this, I hinted at this in her words. I just want to make the consequences very clear. You will take harm by doing this, right? This is not something mortals can do easily, even the wraith touched. It will be easier on you than someone who's not, right?
Sure. Will I be able to resist it?
Yeah. I think you can.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So she lifts up the painting and like kind of lowers it over your head, so you're in this place from the neck up. Your head is sort of through as it's been stuck through a window. It's disorienting because she puts it on you like you're upright, but then you're sort of going in and you're like looking down at a ground, and you can't. I'm not going to try to like it feels open and empty. There isn't like a good sense of like the size of the space, or you can see some sort of like wraiths off in the distance, and I think off to your left there's something that vaguely looks like a building, but like everything is just, your brain can't process it, right? The way like your whatever human eyesight and visual processing just isn't quite able to give you more than like vague impressions, and you're not sure if that's like just your brain doing its best to interpret the visual stimulus, but like, you know, we're gonna come to your roll in a second, Arkina. But I want to and you take you. I think you're gonna take level 1 harm. I think it's just disoriented because it's level 1. You know, if it were higher level harm, if you were not wraith touched, right, you'd have some more serious harm. But if you want to resist that, you can.
Yeah, I think instead of it harming him sort of psychologically, which is, you mean it sort of in a, I'm thinking you're saying like a psychological like
You
thing.
find it like uncomfortable and disorienting,
Right.
That's the
I'm not physically being damaged. It's blowing up my brain.
Yeah, exactly. It is psychological.
Okay. So I think maybe I'll try to resist it using insight, if that makes sense.
Well, tell me what you do.
Maybe I exalted it rather than being damaged by it.
Sure, like you're saying, like this is disorienting.
This is exactly what I wanted. Yeah, this
exactly
being flooded with beauty. Sure.
Sure.
So I got 2 dice in that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sorry, we're running a little bit late here. I'm sorry.
Sure, I got a 4.
Wonderful. So that
means 2 stress.
Take 4 stress.
4 stress. Okay.
No, 2 stress.
2 stress.
6 minus 4 is 2. Yes, you take 2 stress.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And now Arkina. So you've been sneaking around. Tell us what that looks like, and roll those dice.
Yeah. So I'm keeping my distance. Vendon, did you go on horseback or?
Yeah, I probably went on my fine horse.
Yeah. So I guess I would probably also be on horseback to keep pace, but hanging way back and not moving as quickly. And I think just sort of I watch Vendon come up to this tower and watch him go in, and I as I'm getting closer, I step down off my horse to approach, and I look for some footholds and stuff so I can actually climb up the side of the tower a little bit to see. And I think probably right when I start, like right when I get there is about when Vendon bends the knee.
Yeah.
So I have no context for it, right? Other than that's what I see.
Yeah.
And
so that sounds like a prowl.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm sort of tempted to push myself to get another die, but also I don't want to be going into the next sortie with 5 stress already.
Sure. Devil's bargain is no matter what, the wraiths know you were there.
The wraiths, not like Vendon spies.
Yeah, I mean, the wraiths. I mean, wraiths can tell Vendon, but
I'm fine with that.
But at least to start with,
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So go ahead. So you can take a second die. I'm not going to call this desperate. It's risky, and what you're trying to achieve is to complete your project, to learn something right about what's going to happen here. I think just sort of watching this, it's so risky standard. Let's call it.
Okay.
Maybe it should be desperate, but I think risky is fine.
6.
6. Yeah.
You can call it desperate. I'll take the
yeah,
XP.
And sure. It should have been desperate. I'll let you do that. I was gonna say, well, it's a desperate consequence if there was gonna be one. So yeah. So 6. So yeah. So Vendon, as the you're holding this vial of paint, right? And as the picture is lifted off your head, right? Arkina has watched you bow and has heard the conversation and is right. What does she see, and how does it help her like come up, realize what she needs to do to interfere with your magic?
if mechanically I'd gotten a scar, it'd be easier, but I didn't. So, I don't honestly, off the top of my head, I don't think you see anything different. I mean, you have this. You see, I have this vial of strange substance in my hand. Maybe you look down and you've got the blood in your hand. And you're like,
So maybe it's not that you see anything different with Vendon. Maybe you catch a glimpse through the painting, right? And you see Lady Sarah Derrick, and you see the paint, right? And you realize, Arkina, that at least some of this is about like the relationship between, and like we don't even need a real answer here, right? Like
I have an idea.
Fictionally, in the moment, at any point, you can decide what's gonna. Like the point is just you now know this information, whatever it is. But Vendon, what do you think? What's your idea?
I was gonna say, I mean, this is kind of leading where I'm hoping to go with this character, which is after the painting's lifted, maybe the queen fades away, and I start to take steps. And as I step and move through space, the space around me and the ground around me changes to look more like that Matisse painting. The world around me starts to change, and it seems to spread, and then it sort of fades away. It's only temporary at this point.
Right. But but what weakness does it reveal is the question here.
Of me?
Yeah, right. Because this is the project that Arkina is, right, thwarting your magic.
Looking to get kind of weakness.
Yeah, like thwarting your magic. That's the long-term project. Not necessarily your magic, any of this magic. It could be Wraith magic. It could be some other magician's magic, right? But you're the sort of the person here who's doing it. We also don't need to answer this question, right? I mean, we can sort of like have this be just something more abstract, and then when the moment comes that Arkina wants to act, it may be obvious what the thing to do is, you know?
Right. Well, maybe I think probably clear, maybe temporarily I look very much like a Wraith.
Right. You know? I mean, yeah. I mean, I think like the number one thing is like it's clear now the relationship between magic and wraiths and whatever this other world is, right?
Right.
Which you kind of knew already, but you know, it cemented it. And then like in terms of what the actual we'll see when you want to actually act on this information, right? I bet it will be clearer what kinds of things would interfere with it, you know.
Jex, do you have any ideas what you might have found out? I'm curious. I mean, I'm open to whatever suggestions you have.
No, I really like kind of putting this in my pocket as a, fill in the blank when something makes sense.
Flashback, sure.
Yeah, I think so. If that's cool with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Awesome. All right, and I think our last sort of shot is the librarian Jamie from the it's a point of view shot of Arkina climbing down the tower and getting on her horse and riding away, and then the camera pulls back to reveal the back of a head and turns around, and it was the librarian Jamie watching you, right, which is the result of the devil's bargain, and we'll see how that plays out. And yeah, I think that's our session. Let's I know it's late. Let's do end of session, and then I kind of want to. I don't think it's probably too late to do not lines and veils, to do stars and wishes afterwards. But let's do our end of session stuff. So let's start with you, Sir Kevin. Did you take risks to protect the claimant?
Yes, I think so.
Absolutely. I can think
stepping into this diplomatic mission.
Yep, 100%. Did you make sacrifices to put the claimant's interest before your own?
Arguably.
Well, what do you think they were?
I think I'm playing a dangerous game with my family that could go very badly in my attempt to incorporate them into the claimant's support.
100%. Did you express your background or scars? Sorry, did you take initiative to advance the claimant's name?
Yeah, 100%, including yelling at people who doubted her.
For sure. Did you express your background or scars?
Yeah, because my background is being an acknowledged bastard of House Granwyn, and that was definitely near the forefront, including in the ways my social superiors look down on me.
Absolutely. Did you express your beliefs and drive?
I will uphold the claimant's honor in defiance of any who disrespect her.
Amazing. Cool. Yeah, so that's, you get all 5. Do with them as you will.
Gonna
For the playbook,
take that advancement.
yeah, you could just, so you can also choose to put them in your other stuff too.
That's true. That's
Insight,
true.
prowess, resolve. So I just like to remind players of that. Awesome. Jason, did you take initiative to call in a favor or collect on a debt?
Yeah, that was me trying to pressure Lady Gwenin.
100%.
Yep.
100%. Did you make sacrifices to pursue a long-term goal?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you challenge the claimant's assumptions on a situation or problem?
In absentia, yes.
I think so, yeah. Did you express your background or scars?
Yeah.
And did you express your beliefs and drives?
Oh, yeah.
You got it. Yeah, transforming this realm through art and beauty. Beautiful. And finally, Jex, did you make sacrifices to gain a strategic advantage?
I think so. I mean, I think I have arguably a strategic advantage over Vendon now. I also
the way you continue to indulge Flan, I think, is a great example of this.
Yeah, that and I mean also just being in the room with what's her name, the Maze.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Did you take initiative to preempt the threat?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think a few.
Yep.
Some of the same things we just mentioned. Yeah.
Yep. Did you counsel the claimant to choose aggression over compromise? This is tough because the claimant wasn't here, but
yeah,
I think you can make a case. Well, I don't know. Do you think you did?
Oh, I want to hear the case that you're just about to make.
Oh, I was going to make a case that you did the exact opposite.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, that's
in like trying to make peace with the Maze cousin and whatever.
Yeah, no, that's my feeling as well.
Yeah. Did you express your background or scars?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess my scar only came up kind of partway through things, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think yeah.
Did you express your beliefs and drive?
Yes, I think I put myself in harm's way to protect the claimant.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah. So that's 4 XP checks and use as you want. All right. Anyone who was watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and we're gonna